melalui pembangunan biogas rumah. Instalasi biogas memungkinkan masyarakat untuk mengelola limbah organik yang dihasilkan dari aktivitas rumah tangga menjadi sesuatu yang bermanfaat, salah satunya untuk kegiatan memasak. Selain berfungsi sebagai tempat sampah dengan bonus gas untuk memasak, biogas juga menyokong kegiatan usaha para penggunanya melalui pemanfaatan bioslurry atau ampas biogas. Pembangunan biogas rumah di Nusa Tenggara Barat hingga saat ini telah mencapai 6.414 unit dan masih terus bertambah. Bahkan di tahun 2021, pembangunan biogas mencapai lebih dari 1.000 unit, di mana 90% diantaranya dilakukan secara swadaya oleh masyarakat.
Perkembangan biogas di Nusa Tenggara Barat itu dimulai sejak tahun 2010 sampai dengan sekarang. Jadi total pembangunan biogas itu sudah sekitar 6.000-an unit biogas. Kami ini bekerja sama dengan masyarakat, ada juga bekerja sama dengan pemerintah daerah. Selama pembangunan ini, kami Yayasan Rumah Energi itu menjamin di after sales service-nya, jadi memberikan garansi. Prinsip pembangunan biogas yang dibangun di program biogas rumah atau program biru ini adalah kita membangun reaktor biogas yang berkualitas secara konstruksi, dan kita juga memberikan kualitas juga di after sales service-nya. Khusus pada tahun 2020, ya, sejak pandemi melanda kita semua, banyak masyarakat di daerah perkotaan yang kehilangan pekerjaan, kemudian mereka kembali ke desa, itu kembali bercocok tanam, kemudian beternak. Mereka di sini sangat membutuhkan pupuk organik untuk mendukung kegiatan pertanian mereka. Program biogas rumah ini yang kita sosialisasikan melalui model biomiru itu diterima oleh masyarakat. Model biomiru ini itu cukup praktis, kemudian lebih mudah dioperasikan dan manfaatnya sangat dirasakan. Nah, jadi dengan biomiru ini mereka mendapatkan manfaat berupa gasnya untuk memasak, dan seluruhnya itu bisa dimanfaatkan sebagai pupuk organik. Ke depan memang kita berharap masyarakat aware dengan energi terbarukan. Jadi mereka bisa memanfaatkan potensi-potensi yang ada di sekitar. Contoh misalnya kotoran sapi, kemudian sampah-sampah organik rumah tangga, kemudian atau limbah-limbah pertanian, itu bisa dimanfaatkan menjadi sumber energi bagi mereka.
Semangat masyarakat Nusa Tenggara Barat dalam praktik pengolahan sampah yang baik dan berkelanjutan juga bersinergi dengan Zero Waste NTB yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah melalui Dinas Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan Nusa Tenggara Barat. Bahkan, salah satu desa, yaitu Desa Pasanggerahan di Lombok Timur, berhasil dinobatkan sebagai juara nasional dalam program Kampung Iklim atau Proklim pada tahun 2021. Pembangunan 115 unit instalasi biogas menjadi faktor penting dalam mengubah perilaku masyarakat yang tadinya melakukan penebangan pohon untuk kayu bakar sebagai bahan baku keperluan memasak. Dengan adanya biogas, masyarakat beralih memanfaatkan limbah organik atau kotoran ternak sebagai bahan baku untuk memasak, sehingga mata air di kawasan hutan dapat terjaga. Rumah Energi konsisten memegang teguh kepercayaan yang diberikan, meningkatkan kompetensi dengan terus belajar, mendedikasikan diri bagi bangsa dan negara, terus-menerus berinovasi, mengikuti perkembangan teknologi, berkolaborasi membangun kerjasama yang bersinergi. Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan menyebut total sampah nasional pada 2021 mencapai 68,5 juta ton. Dari jumlah tersebut, sampah sisa makanan menjadi penyumbang terbanyak, yaitu sebesar 28,3%. Sebagaimana yang kita ketahui, limbah makanan yang terbuang pada saat proses produksi, distribusi, dan pada saat makan akan menghasilkan gas rumah kaca yang berakibat pada perubahan iklim. Ini menjadi masalah serius yang harus diselesaikan. Di Nusa Tenggara Barat, kesadaran akan pengelolaan sampah yang baik sudah mulai terbangun dari tingkat tapak hingga pembuat kebijakan. Hal ini mereka wujudkan, salah satunya melalui pembangunan biogas rumah. Instalasi biogas memungkinkan masyarakat untuk mengelola limbah organik yang dihasilkan dari aktivitas rumah tangga menjadi sesuatu yang bermanfaat, salah satunya untuk kegiatan memasak. Selain berfungsi sebagai tempat sampah dengan bonus gas untuk memasak, biogas juga menyokong kegiatan usaha para penggunanya melalui pemanfaatan bioslurry atau ampas biogas. Pembangunan biogas rumah di Nusa Tenggara Barat hingga saat ini telah mencapai 6.414 unit dan masih terus bertambah. Bahkan di tahun 2021, pembangunan biogas mencapai lebih dari 1.000 unit, di mana 90% diantaranya dilakukan secara swadaya oleh masyarakat.
Perkembangan biogas di Nusa Tenggara Barat itu dimulai sejak tahun 2010 sampai dengan sekarang. Jadi total pembangunan biogas itu sudah sekitar 6.000-an unit biogas. Kami ini bekerja sama dengan masyarakat, ada juga bekerja sama dengan pemerintah daerah. Selama pembangunan ini, kami Yayasan Rumah Energi itu menjamin di after sales service-nya, jadi memberikan garansi. Prinsip pembangunan biogas yang dibangun di program biogas rumah atau program biru ini adalah kita membangun reaktor biogas yang berkualitas secara konstruksi, dan kita juga memberikan kualitas juga di after sales service-nya. Khusus pada tahun 2020, ya, sejak pandemi melanda kita semua, banyak masyarakat di daerah perkotaan yang kehilangan pekerjaan, kemudian mereka kembali ke desa, itu kembali bercocok tanam, kemudian beternak. Mereka di sini sangat membutuhkan pupuk organik untuk mendukung kegiatan pertanian mereka. Program biogas rumah ini yang kita sosialisasikan melalui model biomiru itu diterima oleh masyarakat. Model biomiru ini itu cukup praktis, kemudian lebih mudah dioperasikan dan manfaatnya sangat dirasakan. Nah, jadi dengan biomiru ini mereka mendapatkan manfaat berupa gasnya untuk memasak, dan seluruhnya itu bisa dimanfaatkan sebagai pupuk organik. Kedepan memang kita berharap masyarakat aware dengan energi terbarukan. Jadi mereka bisa memanfaatkan potensi-potensi yang ada di sekitar. Contoh misalnya kotoran sapi, kemudian sampah-sampah organik rumah tangga, kemudian atau limbah-limbah pertanian, itu bisa dimanfaatkan menjadi sumber energi bagi mereka.
Semangat masyarakat Nusa Tenggara Barat dalam praktik pengolahan sampah yang baik dan berkelanjutan juga bersinergi dengan Zero Waste NTB yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah melalui Dinas Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan Nusa Tenggara Barat. Bahkan, salah satu desa, yaitu Desa Pesanggerahan di Lombok Timur, berhasil dinobatkan sebagai juara nasional dalam program Kampung Iklim atau Proklim pada tahun 2021. Pembangunan 115 unit instalasi biogas menjadi faktor penting dalam mengubah perilaku masyarakat yang tadinya melakukan penebangan pohon untuk kayu bakar sebagai bahan baku keperluan memasak. Dengan adanya biogas, masyarakat beralih memanfaatkan limbah organik atau kotoran ternak sebagai bahan baku untuk memasak, sehingga mata air di kawasan hutan dapat terjaga. Rumah Energi konsisten memegang teguh kepercayaan yang diberikan, meningkatkan kompetensi dengan terus belajar, mendedikasikan diri bagi bangsa dan negara, terus-menerus berinovasi, mengikuti perkembangan teknologi, berkolaborasi membangun kerjasama yang bersinergi. Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan menyebut total sampah nasional pada 2021 mencapai 68,5 juta ton. Dari jumlah tersebut, sampah sisa makanan menjadi penyumbang terbanyak, yaitu sebesar 28,3%. Sebagaimana yang kita ketahui, limbah makanan yang terbuang pada saat proses produksi, distribusi, dan pada saat makan akan menghasilkan gas rumah kaca yang berakibat pada perubahan iklim. Ini menjadi masalah serius yang harus diselesaikan. Di Nusa Tenggara Barat, kesadaran akan pengelolaan sampah yang baik sudah mulai terbangun dari tingkat tapak hingga pembuat kebijakan. Hal ini mereka wujudkan, salah satunya melalui pembangunan biogas rumah. Instalasi biogas memungkinkan masyarakat untuk mengelola limbah organik yang dihasilkan dari aktivitas rumah tangga menjadi sesuatu yang bermanfaat, salah satunya untuk kegiatan memasak. Selain berfungsi sebagai tempat sampah dengan bonus gas untuk memasak, biogas juga menyokong kegiatan usaha para penggunanya melalui pemanfaatan bioslurry atau ampas biogas. Pembangunan biogas rumah di Nusa Tenggara Barat hingga saat ini telah mencapai 6.414 unit dan masih terus bertambah. Bahkan di tahun 2021, pembangunan biogas mencapai lebih dari 1.000 unit, di mana 90% diantaranya dilakukan secara swadaya oleh masyarakat.
Perkembangan biogas di Nusa Tenggara Barat itu dimulai sejak tahun 2010 sampai dengan sekarang. Jadi total pembangunan biogas itu sudah sekitar 6.000-an unit biogas. Kami ini bekerja sama dengan masyarakat, ada juga bekerja sama dengan pemerintah daerah. Selama pembangunan ini, kami Yayasan Rumah Energi itu menjamin di after sales service-nya, jadi memberikan garansi. Prinsip pembangunan biogas yang dibangun di program biogas rumah atau program biru ini adalah kita membangun reaktor biogas yang berkualitas secara konstruksi, dan kita juga memberikan kualitas juga di after sales service-nya. Khusus pada tahun 2020, ya, sejak pandemi melanda kita semua, banyak masyarakat di daerah perkotaan yang kehilangan pekerjaan, kemudian mereka kembali ke desa, itu kembali bercocok tanam, kemudian beternak. Mereka di sini sangat membutuhkan pupuk organik untuk mendukung kegiatan pertanian mereka. Program biogas rumah ini yang kita sosialisasikan melalui model biomiru itu diterima oleh masyarakat. Model biomiru ini itu cukup praktis, kemudian lebih mudah dioperasikan dan manfaatnya sangat dirasakan. Nah, jadi dengan biomiru ini mereka mendapatkan manfaat berupa gasnya untuk memasak, dan seluruhnya itu bisa dimanfaatkan sebagai pupuk organik. Kedepan memang kita berharap masyarakat aware dengan energi terbarukan. Jadi mereka bisa memanfaatkan potensi-potensi yang ada di sekitar. Contoh misalnya kotoran sapi, kemudian sampah-sampah organik rumah tangga, kemudian atau limbah-limbah pertanian, itu bisa dimanfaatkan menjadi sumber energi bagi mereka.
Semangat masyarakat Nusa Tenggara Barat dalam praktik pengolahan sampah yang baik dan berkelanjutan juga bersinergi dengan Zero Waste NTB yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah melalui Dinas Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan Nusa Tenggara Barat. Bahkan, salah satu desa, yaitu Desa Pesanggerahan di Lombok Timur, berhasil dinobatkan sebagai juara nasional dalam program Kampung Iklim atau Proklim pada tahun 2021. Pembangunan 115 unit instalasi biogas menjadi faktor penting dalam mengubah perilaku masyarakat yang tadinya melakukan penebangan pohon untuk kayu bakar sebagai bahan baku keperluan memasak. Dengan adanya biogas, masyarakat beralih memanfaatkan limbah organik atau kotoran ternak sebagai bahan baku untuk memasak, sehingga mata air di kawasan hutan dapat terjaga. Rumah Energi konsisten memegang teguh kepercayaan yang diberikan, meningkatkan kompetensi dengan terus belajar, mendedikasikan diri bagi bangsa dan negara, terus-menerus berinovasi, mengikuti perkembangan teknologi, berkolaborasi membangun Sisa makanan menjadi penyumbang terbanyak, yaitu sebesar 28,3%. Sebagaimana yang kita ketahui, limbah makanan yang terbuang pada saat proses produksi, distribusi, dan pada saat makan akan menghasilkan gas rumah kaca yang berakibat pada perubahan iklim. Ini menjadi masalah serius yang harus diselesaikan. Di Nusa Tenggara Barat, kesadaran akan pengelolaan sampah yang baik sudah mulai terbangun dari tingkat tapak hingga pembuat kebijakan. Hal ini mereka wujudkan, salah satunya melalui pembangunan biogas rumah. Instalasi biogas memungkinkan masyarakat untuk mengelola limbah organik yang dihasilkan dari aktivitas rumah tangga menjadi sesuatu yang bermanfaat, salah satunya untuk kegiatan memasak. Selain berfungsi sebagai tempat sampah dengan bonus gas untuk memasak, biogas juga menyokong kegiatan usaha para penggunanya melalui pemanfaatan bioslurry atau ampas biogas. Pembangunan biogas rumah di Nusa Tenggara Barat hingga saat ini telah mencapai 6.414 unit dan masih terus bertambah. Bahkan di tahun 2021, pembangunan biogas mencapai lebih dari 1.000 unit, di mana 90% diantaranya dilakukan secara swadaya oleh masyarakat.
Perkembangan biogas di Nusa Tenggara Barat itu dimulai sejak tahun 2010 sampai dengan sekarang. Jadi total pembangunan biogas itu sudah sekitar 6.000-an unit biogas. Kami ini bekerja sama dengan masyarakat, ada juga bekerja sama dengan pemerintah daerah. Selama pembangunan ini, kami Yayasan Rumah Energi itu menjamin di after sales service-nya, jadi memberikan garansi. Prinsip pembangunan biogas yang dibangun di program biogas rumah atau program biru ini adalah kita membangun reaktor biogas yang berkualitas secara konstruksi, dan kita juga memberikan kualitas juga di after sales service-nya. Khusus pada tahun 2020, ya, sejak pandemi melanda kita semua, banyak masyarakat di daerah perkotaan yang kehilangan pekerjaan, kemudian mereka kembali ke desa, itu kembali bercocok tanam, kemudian beternak. Mereka di sini sangat membutuhkan pupuk organik untuk mendukung kegiatan pertanian mereka. Program biogas rumah ini yang kita sosialisasikan melalui model biomiru itu diterima oleh masyarakat. Model biomiru ini itu cukup praktis, kemudian lebih mudah dioperasikan dan manfaatnya sangat dirasakan. Nah, jadi dengan biomiru ini mereka mendapatkan manfaat berupa gasnya untuk memasak, dan seluruhnya itu bisa dimanfaatkan sebagai pupuk organik. Kedepan memang kita berharap masyarakat aware dengan energi terbarukan. Jadi mereka bisa memanfaatkan potensi-potensi yang ada di sekitar. Contoh misalnya kotoran sapi, kemudian sampah-sampah organik rumah tangga, kemudian atau limbah-limbah pertanian, itu bisa dimanfaatkan menjadi sumber energi bagi mereka.
Semangat masyarakat Nusa Tenggara Barat dalam praktik pengolahan sampah yang baik dan berkelanjutan juga bersinergi dengan Zero Waste NTB yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah melalui Dinas Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan Nusa Tenggara Barat. Bahkan, salah satu desa, yaitu Desa Pesanggerahan di Lombok Timur, berhasil dinobatkan sebagai juara nasional dalam program Kampung Iklim atau Proklim pada tahun 2021. Pembangunan 115 unit instalasi biogas menjadi faktor penting dalam mengubah perilaku masyarakat yang tadinya melakukan penebangan pohon untuk kayu bakar sebagai bahan baku keperluan memasak. Dengan adanya biogas, masyarakat beralih memanfaatkan limbah organik atau kotoran ternak sebagai bahan baku untuk memasak, sehingga mata air di kawasan hutan dapat terjaga. Rumah Energi konsisten memegang teguh kepercayaan yang diberikan, meningkatkan kompetensi dengan terus belajar, mendedikasikan diri bagi bangsa dan negara, terus-menerus berinovasi, mengikuti perkembangan teknologi, berkolaborasi membangun kerjasama yang bersinergi. Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan menyebut total sampah nasional pada 2021 mencapai 68,5 juta ton. Dari jumlah tersebut, sampah sisa makanan menjadi penyumbang terbanyak, yaitu sebesar 28,3%. Sebagaimana yang kita ketahui, limbah makanan yang terbuang pada saat proses produksi, distribusi, dan pada saat makan akan menghasilkan gas rumah kaca yang berakibat pada perubahan iklim. Ini menjadi masalah serius yang harus diselesaikan. Di Nusa Tenggara Barat, kesadaran akan pengelolaan sampah yang baik sudah mulai terbangun dari tingkat tapak hingga pembuat kebijakan. Hal ini mereka wujudkan, salah satunya melalui pembangunan biogas rumah. Instalasi biogas memungkinkan masyarakat untuk mengelola limbah organik yang dihasilkan dari aktivitas rumah tangga menjadi sesuatu yang bermanfaat, salah satunya untuk kegiatan memasak. Selain berfungsi sebagai tempat sampah dengan bonus gas untuk memasak, biogas juga menyokong kegiatan usaha para penggunanya melalui pemanfaatan bioslurry atau ampas biogas. Pembangunan biogas rumah di Nusa Tenggara Barat hingga saat ini telah mencapai 6.414 unit dan masih terus bertambah. Bahkan di tahun 2021, pembangunan biogas mencapai lebih dari 1.000 unit, di mana 90% diantaranya dilakukan secara swadaya oleh masyarakat.
Perkembangan biogas di Nusa Tenggara Barat itu dimulai sejak tahun 2010 sampai dengan sekarang. Jadi total pembangunan biogas itu sudah sekitar 6.000-an unit biogas. Kami ini bekerja sama dengan masyarakat, ada juga bekerja sama dengan pemerintah daerah. Selama pembangunan ini, kami Yayasan Rumah Energi itu menjamin di after sales service-nya, jadi memberikan garansi. Prinsip pembangunan biogas yang dibangun di program biogas rumah atau program biru ini adalah kita membangun reaktor biogas yang berkualitas secara konstruksi, dan kita juga memberikan kualitas juga di after sales service-nya. Khusus pada tahun 2020, ya, sejak pandemi melanda kita semua, banyak masyarakat.
Selamat siang, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Selamat datang di acara webinar kita pada siang hari ini. Acara webinar ini akan dilaksanakan dalam bahasa Inggris. Jadi kita akan mulai sekarang. Okay, so good afternoon, good morning, our panelists, our keynote speaker, and also the participants. Welcome to our webinar today on behalf of the YRE team, Yayasan Rumah Energi team, the Kenya Biogas Program, and the Biogas Solution Uganda Limited. We would like to give you a warm welcome and thank you for participating in today's webinar with the topic on biogas program, innovations, and opportunities for development. And before we end, let me introduce myself. My name is Rebecca Angelin, and I am the Executive Director of Yayasan Rumah Energi, or YRE in short. And I'll be your moderator for the next 2 hours and 15 minutes, probably 2.5 hours for this webinar session. And before we start, I want to inform the participants and also the panelists that we have an interpretation service for this webinar. So if you look at the globe icon in your screen, you can click it and you can use the interpretation service from English to Indonesian. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, kami menyediakan layanan penerjemah. Jadi apabila butuh jasa penerjemah, maka bisa diklik di icon yang berbentuk bola dunia gitu. Jadi itu ada layanan penerjemahan bahasa Indonesia ke bahasa Inggris dan sebaliknya. Oke, thank you. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Okay, so we want to start this webinar, and I want to give you a context on the things that we're going to discuss today. That according to a World Bank data published in 2022, it says that there are still 2.4 billion people globally that still use conventional fuel for cooking, and this is it's a huge number considering that there is a global commitment of achieving universal access to modern energy by 2030. And we also look at if we look at the tracking of the climate finance going into the adaptation and mitigation efforts, we look at them specifically on the mitigation efforts, all of the international public and private financing goes to mostly goes to the electricity subsector, and this is even targeting the large power system. So looking at that, and I just like I joined like a webinar, and then one of the participants, one of the speakers from New Energy Nexus mentioned that it is true that the financial resources going into the clean cooking is declining. On the other hand, we look at the current situation globally where we're just recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and also there's a disruption in global supply chain, and there's a fluctuation in global oil and gas price, causing energy prices to soar. And this will also affect countries where there's still a huge amount of subsidy going into fossil fuel. And on the positive note that when we talk about biogas, we're not just talking about energy access, but we're talking about cross-sectoral impacts. And there's a huge economic value in the biogas value chain. And when we look at the circular economy reports and studies, that there's an economic opportunity that is worth $4.5 billion globally. So with that being said, I want to also point out that the objectives of this webinar, we have two objectives. The first one is we know that clean cooking programs and business and projects have been going on for decades now, and we notice that there are innovations and creative financing and program design going on all over the country. And we are very lucky that we have extraordinary panelists today joining us to share their insights, their lessons learned, which is very valuable for us to, at the end of the day, to globally to do a global advocacy work to achieve that universal access to modern energy. So that's the first objective. And second objective is we also want to introduce the South-South biogas community. And I'm gonna let my colleagues Kevin and Miguel to later on give you a sneak peek on what is SSBC and what we envision and what we're going to do next. So maybe I'll just stop there. And to start off this webinar, I would like to invite Mr. Eddie Wibowo, who is the Director of Bioenergy of the Directorate General of New and Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation of the Indonesia's Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, to deliver his keynote speech. To Pak Eddie, I will hand over the platform to you. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Pak Eddie, we still cannot hear you.
I'm sorry,
yes.
I still mute.
Please go ahead, Pak. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Rebecca. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, all participants. I'm sorry, I will convey the keynote speech in Bahasa. Honorable Director Executive Jasa Rumah Energi, Rebecca Angelin, partners from Biogas Solution Uganda Limited, Mr. Michael Mufuke, Mr. Kevin Kinusu from Kenya Biogas Program, Mr. Marcel Spas from Fair Climate Fund, Ms. Esther Altoffer from Sistema Bio, Mr. Gareth Selby from Inclusive Energy, Ibu Eva Sulistiawati from Popok Suburkan Negeri, dan Mr. Dananjay Abang from Clean Energy Tech Solution. Perwakilan sektor pemerintah, sektor swasta, peneliti, praktisi, akademisi, NGO, RSM, dan masyarakat yang bergerak di bidang pengembangan biogas. Alhamdulillah, puji syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, sehingga kita dapat hadir pada acara webinar Biogas Program, Teknologi, Innovation and Opportunity for Development, sekaligus soft launching South-South Biogas Community. Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, apresiasi kami sampaikan atas komitmen, kontribusi, dan kerja keras dari Yayasan Rumah Energi dalam upaya pengembangan biogas di Indonesia, terutama dalam inisiasi pembentukan South-South Biogas Community bersama dengan Biogas Solution Uganda Limited, Kenya Biogas Program, sebagai wadah pengembangan sektor biogas di negara berkembang. Webinar Biogas Program, Technology Innovation and Opportunities for Development akan menjadi soft launching pembentukan short biogas community, sekaligus sebagai sarana berbagai best practice dari teknologi dan program biogas yang diimplementasikan penyedia layanan biogas dan pengembangan proyek di berbagai negara. Dear all participant, penggunaan energi fosil yang selama ini menjadi tumpuan pemenuhan energi dunia telah terbukti juga berkontribusi mempercepat laju pemanasan global yang berdampak luas pada kehidupan masyarakat. Kenaikan suhu bumi tidak hanya berdampak pada naiknya temperatur bumi, tapi juga mengakibatkan perubahan iklim yang ditandai dengan curah hujan dan kekeringan yang ekstrim, dengan intensitas yang semakin meningkat, durasi semakin panjang, dan frekuensi semakin sering. Indonesia merupakan satu di antara banyak negara di dunia yang menyatakan komitmen untuk memitigasi perubahan iklim melalui berbagai upaya transisi energi. Komitmen Indonesia yang diimplementasikan melalui berbagai regulasi, kebijakan, strategi, dan program dalam skala nasional, bilateral, regional, dan juga internasional telah membawa Indonesia bergerak maju untuk bertransformasi mengurangi ketergantungan pada energi fosil melalui pemanfaatan energi baru terbarukan, guna mencapai kemandirian dan keamanan energi, pengembangan ekonomi berkelanjutan, pengembangan energi rendah karbon, dan mendorong tumbuhnya investasi dan pendanaan energi hijau yang terbarukan. Komitmen Indonesia dalam transisi energi juga tercermin dalam kepemimpinan Indonesia pada G20 tahun 2022 ini, dengan mengusung tema Recover Together, Recover Stronger. Transisi energi melalui pengembangan dilakukan melalui peningkatan akses energi, pengembangan teknologi bersih, dan pemenuhan pembiayaan energi terbarukan. Bioenergi sebagai sumber EBT dengan karakteristik yang unik diharapkan mampu berkontribusi besar dalam mencapai transisi energi melalui pengurangan ketergantungan energi fosil di sektor ketenagalistrikan, transportasi, industri, dan rumah tangga. Bahan baku bioenergi tersedia melimpah di setiap wilayah di Indonesia, di mana berdasarkan pemutakhiran data potensi yang dilakukan pada tahun 2021, bioenergi yang bersumber dari biomasa berpotensi untuk menghasilkan listrik dengan kapasitas 56,9 gigawatt. Adapun program pengembangan bioenergi sangat variatif, mulai dari biofuel, PLT biomasa, PLT biogas, PLT sampah kota, PLT bahan bakar nabati, co-firing biomasa pada PLTU, serta pengembangan biogas yang terdiri dari biogas rumah tangga, biogas komunal, dan biokompres gas untuk sektor industri dan transportasi. Pemanfaatan biogas menjadi salah satu target pengembangan EBT berbasis bioenergi yang ditetapkan dalam RUEN, yaitu sebesar 490 juta ton meter kubik pada tahun 2025. Potensi pemanfaatan biogas sangat besar yang bersumber dari limbah pertanian, perindustrian, peternakan, dan makanan. Selain menjadi energi alternatif untuk memasak, pemanas, dan listrik, biogas juga dapat mengurangi dampak permasalahan lingkungan, seperti penurunan emisi gas rumah kaca, pengolahan air limbah pabrik, dan juga pencegahan pencemaran air, tanah, dan udara. Saat ini di Indonesia telah terbangun 50.835 unit digester biogas yang mampu menghasilkan biogas sebesar 79.193 meter kubik per hari atau 28,5 juta meter kubik per tahun. Capaian ini merupakan hasil kerja keras berbagai pihak terkait yang patut untuk diapresiasi, namun terhitung baru mencapai 5,8 dari target pengembangan biogas yang ditetapkan dalam RUEN. Dibutuhkan upaya-upaya percepatan pengembangan biogas sehingga target pengembangan dapat tercapai dengan baik sesuai target. Dukungan pemerintah dalam pengembangan biogas antara lain penyusunan kerangka regulasi untuk mendukung investasi di sektor biogas, mendorong penelitian dan inovasi teknologi biogas, transparansi data biogas yang mudah diakses oleh berbagai pihak, penyelenggaraan berbagai knowledge sharing, dan juga saran diskusi pengembangan biogas, penyusunan SNI biogas, fasilitasi investasi, dan juga penguatan rantai pasok dan pengembangan pasar biogas termasuk untuk industri, transportasi, dan terkoneksi dengan jaringan transmisi distribusi pipa gas. Upaya percepatan pengembangan biogas tidak bisa dilakukan hanya oleh sektor pemerintah. Komitmen dan sinergi antar sektor dengan sektor lainnya menjadi kunci utama. Konsep pentahelik atau multi pihak di mana pemerintah, akademisi, badan atau pelaku usaha, masyarakat atau komunitas baik nasional maupun internasional, dan media perlu untuk bekerja sama, berkolaborasi, dan berkoordinasi, serta berkomitmen untuk memaksimalkan pengembangan potensi biogas, serta mencari solusi atas berbagai tantangan pengembangan biogas. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, sebagai penutup, sekali lagi kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh pihak yang terlibat dalam penyelenggaraan acara webinar Biogas Program, Technology, Innovation, and Opportunities for Development. Semoga pelaksanaan webinar dapat turut serta memperluas penyebaran informasi terkait program biogas baik dari sisi pendekatan, pembelajaran, dan capaian guna meningkatkan kesadaran serta partisipasi kolaboratif menuju pengembangan teknologi di masa depan. Masih banyak hal yang harus kita siapkan untuk menyukseskan program biogas secara berkelanjutan, karena kita tidak berharap program ini hanya berjalan sebentar, tapi berkelanjutan dan memberikan manfaat yang sebesar-besarnya bagi ketahanan dan kemandirian energi nasional dan juga setiap negara berkembang, serta mencapai tujuan pembangunan nasional dalam rangka mewujudkan masyarakat Indonesia dan juga negara yang terkait, yang mandiri, adil, dan makmur. Akhir kata, kami membuka kesempatan untuk terciptanya pertukaran informasi, diskusi kritis dan interaktif, serta terjalinnya peluang kerjasama konstruksi dalam pengembangan biogas. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Pak Edi. And I want to take this opportunity to ask one or two questions, maybe just one question, unfortunately. And I'm going to convey my question in Indonesian. So you can use the interpretation service. Jadi Pak Edi tadi Bapak sempat menyinggung di slide pertama terkait dengan G20 dan Indonesia tahun ini memegang posisi yang sangat strategis ya sebagai untuk menduduki posisi presidensi G20. Nah, kami juga kebetulan terlibat di beberapa working group di bawah C20 Pak, ada energy transition, sustainable finance, environment and climate working group. Nah, pertanyaan saya adalah, jadi dari sekian banyak priority issues di G20, posisinya clean cooking ini seperti apa? Dan strategi Indonesia untuk bisa mengadvokasi di platform global seperti G20, itu seperti apa Pak? Karena tadi kembali ke poin yang sempat saya sampaikan pada saat menyampaikan konteks itu adalah faktanya masih 2,4 juta orang gitu ya yang tidak punya akses ke clean cooking, dan juga financial resources itu menurun untuk akses clean cooking. Silakan Pak Edi, terima kasih Pak.
Ya, dari berbagai seed event ETWG ya, khususnya terkait energi, juga mungkin financing terkait hal ini, juga kami sudah mengusulkan juga nanti mudah-mudahan juga bagian dari komitmen yang akan disampaikan oleh para menteri G20, bahwa kita akan mendapatkan akses pendanaan bagi yang tadi sekitar 2 juta lebih dari masyarakat yang belum mendapatkan akses energi bersih tadi, itu bisa mendapatkan akses pendanaan yang baik. Jadi hal-hal semacam itu memang kita terkait dengan penggunaan energi bersih itu menjadi komitmen kita bersama, dan juga nanti terkait masalah financing ini juga menjadi komitmen yang akan kita sampaikan dalam G20 nanti. Jadi saat ini memang kami juga lagi menggodok terkait dengan kayak di ETWG itu ada konsep Bali Compact, kemudian juga nanti community draft daripada ministerial meeting yang nanti akan disampaikan dalam bentuk komunikenya. Mudah-mudahan usulan-usulan yang tadi disampaikan, mulai dari set event yang sudah berjalan, kemudian juga dari proses yang berkembang, itu nanti bisa masukan dan jadi menjadi komitmen bersama yang bisa kita nanti disampaikan oleh pada meeting G20 tadi. Walaupun kita menghadapi berbagai kendala, mudah-mudahan nanti bisa berjalan dengan baik.
Terima kasih banyak Pak Edi atas komitmennya ya Pak ya. Jadi I think from us having this SSBC as a platform, we can definitely help you with all of the expertise that all of the panelists and also participants have for many years. We definitely can help to advocate this through the G20 platform. So thank you so much, Pak. Actually, I have one question from the participant directed to address to Pak Edi, but I want to make this clear that the webinar is actually focused on domestic biogas, but if you don't mind, Pak Edi, we have a question regarding bio-CNG. So if you can address this question, that would be really helpful. So Shanas Firdausi asked if there's any regulatory framework in Indonesia to support the market development of bio-CNG. Okay. Jadi ada pertanyaan Pak Edi dari Shanas Firdausi yang menanyakan tentang regulatory framework atau kerangka peraturan perundang-undangan di Indonesia yang bisa mensupport market development. Oke.
Ya.
Oke. Jadi Pak Irwan
Oke, saya jawab. Jadi terkait dengan pengembangan regulasinya tadi untuk pengembangan biogas kami terus sempurnakan, dan saat ini juga kami lagi menggodok seperti terkait dengan tadi mungkin biojanji ya, dari biogas yang ada itu juga di samping untuk ke masyarakat juga biojanji kan maksudnya untuk transfer daripada biogas sendiri supaya nanti bisa dimanfaatkan untuk menggantikan LPG misalnya gitu. Jadi mempunyai efisiensi volumetrik yang lebih tinggi, dan itu bisa nanti mudah-mudahan masyarakat juga bisa akses terkait dengan biogas tadi yang mungkin agak jauh dari, terutama di Indonesia kan banyak dari Pome dan segalanya yang itu mungkin dari industri sawit, dan itu kalau misalnya nanti bisa ditransport masih kan dalam bentuk tabung ditekan dalam kompres gas, itu juga akan semakin banyak masyarakat yang mendapatkan akses terhadap biogas tadi. Dan untuk saat ini memang kami lagi sempurnakan finalisasi, mudah-mudahan dalam di bulan Juli ini nanti sudah kita clear terkait dengan perizinan bisa melalui SOS ya, dan nanti kami koordinasi dengan BKPM juga untuk supaya regulasi ke depan bisa lebih bagus dan juga lebih efisien nantinya. Di samping itu juga kami juga lagi mengembangkan masalah atasnya kan juga inisiatif undang-undang energi terbarukan, kemudian juga nanti ada perpres terkait dengan energi percepatan energi terbarukan, itu juga kami sedang godok. Mudah-mudahan dari penyempurnaan regulasi-regulasi yang ada itu nanti bisa memperkuat penggunaan atau peningkatan energi terbarukan termasuk di dalamnya biogas tadi. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Pak Edi. So thank you so much Pak Edi for your keynote speech, and we hope that you can stay for the webinar until the end. And I believe that we have panelists, probably participants also would like to ask you more questions. So thank you so much. So I would, I'm going to move to our first. Thank you, Pak Edi. I'm going to move to our first panel discussion. So this session, we're going to look at the practice of domestic biogas from a more strategic level, from a country level. And I would like to invite our first panelist, Mikel Muvule. So while we're working on the presentation slide, I'm going to give like a quick intro. So Mikel is an industrial and management system engineer with over 20 years of experience leading cross-functional teams to deliver quality and innovative products. He holds a BSc degree from the University of Nebraska in the US and currently serving as the program coordinator of the Biogas Solutions Uganda Limited. So Mikel, I would like to hand over the platform to you, and you have 10 minutes to present. And also, I would like to remind the participants, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A box, and our panelists will help you either to write down the answer or to answer it live. So thank you so much. Over to you, Miguel.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and thank you, and good morning to, well, good morning here in Africa, and good afternoon to all the participants in this webinar today. We're very pleased to be able to talk to you today about the biogas program in Uganda and about the South-South biogas community. Go to the first slide, please. So as Biogas Solutions Uganda Limited, we are very, very excited about the possibilities that come with the dissemination of biogas technology in Uganda. There are a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of benefit. So our goal is to develop and nurture the biogas sector in Uganda and provide information so that people are aware of the benefits, and all this information to households that are mainly in rural and peri-urban areas that have access to feedstock for the biodigesters. We also actively monitor quality and ensure construction of quality biogas plants. And we work actively with different actors and stakeholders in the biogas sector to build their capacity to improve the dissemination and uptake of biogas. So we built our biogas program model around the benefits of biodigesters. And in the next few years, we are actively working with a consortium that involves SNV, the Netherlands Development Organization, and GIZ in partnership with NDEV and with support from the Dutch government and for funding through RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. So under this program, we focus on the benefits of biodigesters. One, we want to make sure that as the keynote speaker mentioned, that we provide renewable energy, that access is provided to 40,000 people through the installation of 8,000 small-scale biodigesters around the country. We're also actively working to improve the agricultural yield. The benefits of bioslurry in a country like Uganda are very important because we have over 80% of our population actively involved in agriculture. And through a program like this, with the addition of these 8,000 biodigesters, we can return 46,000 tons of dry matter in the form of organic fertilizer back to our soils, which will help to increase the agricultural production on the farms and improve agricultural, climate-smart agriculture and sustainability. This program is also dedicated to deliver the climate and environmental impacts. We see that there's a big effort to stop the use of fossil fuels and to reduce that by switching to clean energy. And also in this way, we attack the problem that we're having right now in terms of high rates of deforestation and soil degradation. So as a program here in Uganda working in biogas, we believe very much in, I think we've skipped a few slides, if you don't mind going back one. So we believe very much on working on a market-based approach. We're looking at a market-led approach that looks at the three sides of the market. We want to improve the demand for biodigesters by increasing widespread awareness and to have a customer base that understands the services and the positive benefits of biodigesters. We're working with the supply side, that is with biogas enterprises, to deliver quality and to attract investment, because we know that the way that we can deliver these benefits is by delivering quality biodigester products and scaling, and also bringing in new innovations in terms of using biogas for productive use. We also see that we have a lot of work to do in improving the enabling environment, because we know that the biodigester sector in Uganda and in all countries that have biogas programs will thrive with the support of regulation that creates stability in the sector and allows for growth. So all these on the market-led approach address the fact that customers have to understand the value proposition of biodigesters, and this will drive demand. It will create an enabling environment, and we need to use methods and ways to improve accessibility and access to affordable financing. So we think that all those coming together will create commercial traction and result in sustainable, inclusive growth of the sector. Next slide, please. So with that said, we then see that there is a need for integrated approach, and that is the focus of the biodigester program in Uganda. We are working to make sure that the private sector is able to take the lead in the main sector functions in terms of lobbying for regulation, in terms of providing quality and creating awareness for the biodigester and biodigester products. We also see the need to improve innovative financing, to create arrangements where both the consumers of biodigesters and the enterprises that are involved in supplying biodigesters have access to affordable financing that will allow them to improve the uptake and allow more people to use biodigesters so that we can have a bigger impact from all the benefits available. We see an important aspect to do with the introduction and scaling of the prefabricated biodigesters. This is not to say that we do not still promote the traditional fixed dome biodigesters, but we see that prefab biodigesters offer an opportunity to access credit and to allow affordable payments or installments over time. As a program, we also believe in stimulating customer satisfaction. This kind of growth within the sector will using things like result-based financing, that we call RBF in short, will be provided to both the enterprises and credit providers so that there is more support in being able to afford biodigesters and being able to create innovations around biodigester products and therefore scale over time. I cannot discuss an integrated approach without talking about the huge impact that we see that bioslurry as a business case around biodigesters has, because we see that bioslurry can improve agricultural yield, bioslurry can return organic matter to the soil, bioslurry can also help to reduce imports of chemical fertilizers, and bioslurry can also create more sustainable agricultural systems with local production of organic fertilizer. But all this requires significant investment in the capacity building of the actors in our sector. That goes for the enterprises, that goes for cooperatives, that goes for farmer groups, as well as for government extension workers. And we see that there's a good aspect for all biodigester programs, not just in Uganda, to work with these actors to improve that. Lastly, but not least, there's a very important aspect to create sustainability by developing carbon revenue streams. So as Biogas Solutions right now, we are aggregating carbon as one of the financing methods to continue supporting the sector. But we see an important need that as private sector companies also join and start their carbon programs, that they do this with an awareness of that carbon financing should actually be used to help support the sector for growth over time and not just to repatriate profits. So with all this being said, I would like to conclude by thanking everybody for your attention and to encourage all participants to continue the good work in biogas and biodigesters, and to see how we can use this opportunity with such an innovative technology to continue expanding all the benefits that I've presented about biodigesters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miguel. What an interesting perspective from Uganda, and you're right on time. And we actually have a couple of questions directed to you, but I'm gonna go over to Kevin. But I want to point out that you mentioned about the accessible credit and also the carbon financing, which we'll discuss that later in this webinar. So I'm going to go over to Kevin Kinusu, who is the program manager, also our partner and spokesperson for SSPC. Kevin is the founding team leader of the Kenya Biogas Program, registered as the Africa Bioenergy Programs Limited in Kenya. The biogas program in Kenya is the fastest growing and most extensive domestic biogas program in Africa, and they're the winner of the Globe Energy Award Kenya 2019. So Kevin, through this program has supported over 22,000 rural households and supports 147 biogas SMEs and generated over 6,000 full-time equivalent job opportunities across Kenya over the last 7 years. So those are very impressive numbers, Kevin. So we would like to know more about, the snapshot of, the biogas development in Kenya. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibu Rebecca. Pak Eddie, keynote speaker, I would like to register my appreciation for opening up the webinar for us. All panelists, distinguished guests, and all participants, my regards to you. This is a very special webinar for us because it's linking lessons from the Global South, from Africa and Asia, so that we can all have a perspective of growth and learn one from another. This morning, I'm going to make a presentation focusing on optimizing community-based enterprises to scale clean energy adoption in Africa. I'm really passionate and together with my team in Africa Bioenergy Programs Limited to see the potential at community level being leveraged, because most often than not, when we are introducing technologies to communities, we are looking at communities as consumers of these technologies, and this is also sometimes the weakness around climate adaptation programs and projects, or climate mitigation programs and projects. So we really want to look at it differently, in a way, look at it differently. In what way can we make communities the central point of biogas technology intervention and adoption and scale? So to speak about this, it's important for us to understand how do we create value at community level, and what is our interpretation of value, when you look at the biodigestor sector, and how do we deliver this value in an effective way to communities to ensure that they adopt and they are sustained, within the community. As Africa Bioenergy Programs Limited in Kenya, we look at three values that are very important and critical to our economy, both as a developing country and an energy scarce country, especially when you're looking at clean cooking energy. Because as at now, we are also speaking of about 75% upwards of people still using traditional fuels, for their cooking. So biodigester being really what we call a climate smart intervention that really looks at the three dimensions, the triple win dimension. We believe and we have observed biodigester being very critical in creating opportunity for employment, and this cuts across, employment at local level where we train masons, employment at enterprise level where we are supporting micro and small entrepreneurs that are constructing or installing the biodigesters, and we are seeing this as an opportunity that can be scaled based on the great need that is observable in the country. At the moment, we talk about a technical potential of about 2 million households. That if supported and if the right system and enabling environment is put in place, they would basically adopt a clean cooking technology, and for this case, biodigester. So there's a great opportunity that is there for employment and job creation. We also look at transformation. How do we ensure that the biodigester technology causes real transformation at household level? And with this, we really focus on ensuring that the household is the capacity of the household is well built to optimize this technology to their required needs, to the needs that they have at the household level, optimally, maximally. So we're going to talk about what have we put in place as Africa Bioenergy Programs Limited to ensure that there is real transformation at household level. The other value that we create is how do we invest back to the communities, and my colleague Mikael Muvule from BSUL has actually mentioned it, that as we work with farmers and they are adopting the technology and we are recovering carbon stock, we want to invest these carbon credit revenues back to the farmers. We want to show them that it pays to act right, to take climate action. There's benefit in taking climate action, and there is benefit in actually keeping that technology working, and this becomes a really high incentive for the communities to ensure that they operate and they maintain these technologies, for the long haul, to ensure that they are reaping maximum benefits from this. But the biggest question again is, how do you deliver this value to communities? The challenge is, in our country, we have over 22,000 farmers who have a biodigester. And if you want to serve all these 22,000 farmers, it's very difficult to reach out to each and every one of them. So you have to put in place mechanisms through which you can reach out to these farmers. One of the innovations that we've actually done is what we call the biogas marketing hub innovation. Farmers in different countries are organized differently. In Kenya, we have farmers organized in cooperatives and commodity associations like coffee, commodity associations, or dairy associations. And we use these farm organizations as entry points for biogas sensitization, awareness creation, and also service delivery. In Kenya today, we've partnered with 25 farm organizations, and in those organizations, we've actually attached biogas extension workers and quality service providers who are working with the team, the sales team, and also the extension team of these organizations to reach out to their members. And this is a very huge constituency that has a lot of influence within the communities and has really put a lot of improvement in access to services and also to the technology and adoption of the technology. This is a picture of two of our marketing hubs. One is called Moist Bridge Dairy Circle in the Rift Valley part of our country, and the other one is called Nyala Vision Circle, which is in the central part of our country. And we've really had great success in ensuring that there is sales turnover for businesses, and also there is after-sales service delivery, and also repair and maintenance for technologies within these areas where we have biogas marketing hubs. The next innovation that we have to ensure that we are delivering value to the households is on training and extension. We can go to the next slide, please. So the next, it's on training and extension service delivery. And with this, the quality management and innovation. You realize that for biodigester technology to work in any community or any country, what speaks to the technology is its functionality. In our country, we say that one non-functional biodigester in a village would actually cause disadoption, or it will actually make us lose business in that entire village. But one functional biodigester in a village can actually cause adoption by 10 households. So we have put in measures to ensure that quality management is actually effective in the country in 3 ways. Number one, we have what we call the quality service providers. These are trained technicians across the country that are fast responders. We realize that sometimes enterprises are not as quick to respond to issues when farmers basically are raising their issues. So we have fast responders in different parts of the country who visit the farmer within 24 hours to ensure that they look at the issue and interpret the issue in terms of what needs to be addressed. And this information is communicated back to the entrepreneurs or the companies that constructed that or installed that biodigester, so that they can now act on a response mechanism. This has really helped because now farmers have a reliable channel through which they can communicate issues when they arise. And we have reduced the turnaround time for repair and maintenance and also addressing farmers' issues to about 72 hours in terms of farmer knowing that something is going to be done. The second bit of it is through our customer service center, we are able to give an open line for all the users of biodigesters within our country to call in and raise any issue that has come across the country. So that has really helped in terms of gathering intelligence on performance of systems across different technologies, and also ensuring that farmers have a reliable source of feedback mechanism that they can rely on a 24-hour basis. And this is very critical for any program that is scaling out, because we are depending on the functionality of these biodigesters to scale out in terms of sales and marketing, to convince other members to adopt. And number two, functionality of the systems also has a bearing on how we gather our carbon credits emission reductions. Our third innovation is around training and extension. So this is very important. The picture you see there is a picture of a household, and they're being trained on how to use bioslurry on their farms. We are one of the institutions that introduced extension services for energy technology. Because when people think about extension services, we'll think about crops and agriculture. But we realize that there is a lot of information that farmers are not aware about. There's a lot of knowledge that farmers are not privy to that needs to be brought to their doorstep. So establishing what we call the Biogas Extension Service Providers team has really come a long way in ensuring that we have a reduced level of non-functionality of biodigesters, because farmers can understand the technology well in terms of how to operate and maintain them, and farmers can actually reap off maximum benefits from their technology because they are now being trained on how to apply the biofertilizer on different value chains, specific value chains, maize, coffee, tea, and other value chains that are of importance in different regions. So what the value that biogas extension services brings to a community is that you can tailor, application protocols for different value chains that mean, have a meaning to different regions so that they can value that technology and the products of that technology in their context. So this is very important for us to look and focus on how do we invest more in extension service delivery for biogas technology adoption. The third innovation that we looked at is we asked ourselves, for us to scale and for us to reach out to the 2 million potential, we need to have very effective and very mature enterprise ecosystem. The companies that are in place, what is their capacity? What is their professionalism? How can we support them to further their skills and further their operations so that we are able to basically forge together with them? And we believe in Kenya that the private sector is a key driver to scaling up adoption of biodigesters. But there are things that are very important to us. Number one, what is the capacity of the private sector and the small and medium enterprises to deliver quality products, to deliver quality services to the farmer? So this is an area of coaching and training that we focus on all the small and micro enterprises in the country. Number two, how are they organized as a business? Because how you organize your business and how you structure your business basically either locks you out from opportunities, from investments, credit, and any other opportunities that a business requires for them to scale up and grow. So we really look at the organizational development capacity. Are the business formalized? Are they rightly registered? Are they meeting their tax obligations and the likes? So that's very important for us, because if these businesses are going to grow and scale out, then they have to have the right organizational structure. The other thing is
Kevin, you have 10 more seconds. Okay.
Sure. This is my last slide.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you.
The last thing that we look at is marketing and sales. So how do we enable these businesses to improve on their sales? And we link them to the marketing hubs that I talked about, and also community user hubs where they can generate their sales and they can generate their pipelines from and convert them into sales for their business, and also offer services through these platforms. So thank you so much. The partners that we work with are many. In the slide that you think they work with HIFOS, we have GIZ, work with the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Agriculture. We also work with the academia, Pwani University and Tekut, and we are pleased to bring on board, all institutions and organizations that are critical to ensure that we forge the biogas technology ahead in the country. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's really impressive to look at the different strategies between Kenya, Uganda, and also Indonesia. I have a couple of questions for you, but for now, I would like to move to Marcel Spaz and Harry Clements from the Fair Climate Fund. So this is interesting because Mikel and also Kevin touched a bit on carbon financing as one of the support to make the program or the business to be sustainable. So just a quick introduction on Marcel and Harry. Marcel is a senior business developer for FCF, and he's been working as senior business developer for 8 years. And he will present the slide together with Harry Clements, who's the business developer for biogas solutions. Harry has 30 years working experience in development projects and have expertise in microfinance, agri and rural finance, agriculture economics, food security and markets, and carbon financing to wrap the whole thing. Okay, so please, I'm going to hand it over to Marcel and Harry. The platform is yours. Marcel, I think you need to unmute. We can't hear you.
Yeah, better
Yes.
so.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, and hello to all partners working on access to clean energy for households. Indeed, I'd like to present shortly Fair Climate Fund and the way we work and use the carbon markets to enable households to get access to clean energy, specifically to biogas. First it will be Fair Climate Fund, and then next will Harry present the relation to the SSBC. Shortly, we are in a social venture, Fair Climate Fund. We're working on, under the umbrella of Coordate, a larger NGO in the Netherlands. But we are a standalone organization using the large umbrella of the NGO. And from starting this year, we started to support SSBC. Next slide, please. Our mission is really using the carbon market for getting this access to clean energy. Our mission is indeed for a world which contributes to the people who really suffer from climate change. They should get the benefits from our activities. And we invest in sustainable household energy and nature-based solutions. Yeah, and we aim to combat climate change to help communities become more resilient. And we are working in the carbon market on a fair trade manner, which is quite specific, as the carbon market is not that transparent and not that helpful as it can be. Next slide, please. The way we work, actually, it's straightforward. We work on carbon project development and developing the programs for sustainable household energy and nature-based solutions. And the next step, number 2, is the carbon certification, which is needed for getting access to this carbon market. We organize that part together with our partners in the south. We work from the Netherlands and colleagues in India. Totally, we have 14 employees dedicated on project development. But when a project program is certified, which takes quite some, it's hard work to organize, to register, and make sure that a project is running. And then you get, after the certification, you get issuance of carbon credits, and those carbon credits have to be sold in the market to corporate clients who want to offset their carbon emissions. And together with this, at the end, by selling the carbon credits, we create, replenish the fund, and we bring back the pre-investment, and we are able to invest again in new projects or in the scaling of a program. Next slide, please. Already mentioned, we're focusing on sustainable household energy, clean cooking, efficient cook stove, solar cooking, all on household level. And next part is nature-based solutions, which is out of scope of this discussion, but totally all linked to finance by carbon credits. And the carbon finance is our main main source of financing the programs. I think that more or less 80 to 90% of our programs are really financed by carbon. Important to say. In general, where we focus at is indeed the sustainable development, the additionality, making sure that the carbon credits is financing the program, and that has to do with also the selling to the market. And for okay, come back to that later. The fairness should really reach the people who contribute the least and to climate change. Yeah, and the most vulnerable people we want to support in their access to clean cooking. And transparency is also mentioned because of our carbon markets. Though there are good certification schemes, what is behind the schemes is not clear, and especially the financial flows carbon programs are not clear, and we see that not all potential money is really reaching the households, and that's what we're aiming at. Next slide, please. Quality standards. Well, the Sustainable Development Goals 3, 5, 7, and 13 are really our main focus, especially a place for women empowerment. The focus on the most vulnerable people, that maybe already mentioned, the household communities get the income of the carbon. And that is really something which is really to address in this in our carbon market. Yeah, and but we also see that besides the carbon reduction, which is caused by the intervention, we pay a premium for climate adaptation purposes. That is, from a fair trade perspective, that is really an add-on on which we see is missing in the carbon market at this moment. Next slide, please. Fair trade climate standard, and that is actually our anchor. Yeah, we're looking at the Fair Trade International and Gold Standard, and both certification bodies. They jointly developed the Fair Trade Climate Standard, putting a threshold in the market, working with a fair trade minimum price, using a carbon premium. But making sure that this carbon market is really working for the people on the ground, to the households, to farmers. Farmers will plant trees, households will get access to clean energy. It's not only the positive benefits of the intervention itself, cook stove or a biogas digester, but also the benefits of carbon credits. And certainly now with the rising market of the value of the carbon credit, it is really an interesting part to potentially having an extra income stream to households. That's something we're working on. I think for the Fair Trade Climate Standard, it's good to mention this is something. It's a certification of the project. At the other hand, it also requires a reduction strategy for the buyers of the credits. Yeah, because you cannot just greenwash your activities with fair trade carbon. It is really a collaboration. Corporate partners in the north, they are reducing. They need to reduce their carbon emissions, and together with that, they can use carbon offsets in the biogas programs. Next, please. I think I hand over to Harry.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, good morning. So the last slide is on the agreement between the Fair Climate Fund and the South-South Biogas Community. This agreement was signed in January of this year, but it goes back to the HIVOS past of the biogas programs, the three program or the three members present today, YRE, ABPL and BSUL, they were all part of biogas development programs that were initiated with HIVOS and also with SNV. But HIVOS developed from 2009 to 2020 the local partners with the programs, and HIVOS took the initiative to register the carbon programs at the gold standard, which was a process which took several years, but after that the projects were registered, monitored and verified, and there have been several issuances of carbon credits in east of the countries, and those carbon credits were sold on the voluntary market. In 2020, HIVOS decided to hand over the programs to the local partners. So YRE, BSU, and ABPL, they became owners of the carbon programs. And this went into three-step approach, as in the second column on this slide is explained. So there was first the strengthening and the independence of all the organizations. The case of YRE, the independence was years back, but
I'm sorry, Harry.
Yeah.
Sorry, the time is your time is up. Can you wrap up in 10 seconds?
Well, that's a pity because the last column is the most important. I think that the trading in the agreement, the trading, there's an agreement between the Biogas Consortium and the Fair Climate Fund on trading with minimum sales price from 8 to 11 euro. But at the moment, we don't sell below 14 euro. And from this proceeds, 88% is transferred to the partners. I think that's very important to realize for all who are present in this webinar. And then next to that, there's also a capacity building plan, which aims to have more visibility and positioning in the international carbon markets. So we really aim that after 2024, the partners, they are themselves visible and have a clear position in the international carbon markets. So, that's quite aligned to the mission and vision of the Fair Climate Fund. And also that I already saw some questions about the user benefits. It's very important that the users who are ultimately the owners of the carbon credits, so generations, that they benefit from the carbon programs.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Harry, and thank you, Marcel. I'm sure that you see in the chat box, there's a lot of questions surrounding carbon finance. So I want to go directly to the Q&A session for the first panel. I want to go first to Kevin Kinusu. So the whole idea of this webinar is to introduce SSBC. So if you can enlighten us, please, what SSBC is all about and what's the background behind it. Please, Kevin.
Thank you so much. So the South-South Biodigester or Biogas community is, as we just call it, a community of organizations, institutions, development partners who are domiciled in the Global South or who have interest to support biogas interventions and innovations, and also, policy, interest within the Global South. So there are 6 things that we are interested in. Number 1, how do we share learning, in the Global South? There are things that are happening, greatly in Indonesia. There are some things that are really happening in a very successful way in Uganda. How can this knowledge and this experience be shared across countries in Global South, both countries that are already intervening on biogas and those that are interested to begin, intervening in biogas? The second thing is knowledge and information sharing. There's a lot of silo knowledge on biogas across different countries' programs. So how do we create a community where knowledge can be shared freely so that people can make decisions that are informed and we don't repeat mistakes that were made before and we don't reinvent the wheel? Then we are also looking at leveraging on the common interest that we have for resource mobilizations into the Global South. And number 4, we're also looking at linking the global agenda, on access, universal energy access, climate action, to meet the reality of the Global South, to look at our issues, our specific issues and needs, and how can the global agenda also resonate, and align to the needs of the Global South. Number 5 is looking at making the needs and the issues of the Global South visible, at the global arena, either on climate action or energy access. So that's very, very, very important. And the most important of all, which is number 6, is how can we complement, as programs, projects, organizations, institutions in the Global South, ensure that the agenda of biodigesters in terms of adoption, optimization, growth in all dimensions, whether it's technology and innovations, actually is improved and is built across the Global South.
Thank you, Kevin. So hopefully, this webinar is just one stepping stone towards, achieving what SSBC is planning to do, and also build that partnership through this webinar. Thank you, Kevin. And I want to go back to Miguel. We have a couple of questions for you. First one is, if you can, okay, this is from me. From my side is that I think there's probably you need to re-strategize from a donor-supported program project development to achieve that market-based approach for accelerating the domestic biogas in Uganda. So how do you shift? What's your strategy in shifting from a donor-based to a market-based approach? That's question number one. And second is that, can you explain your customer profile or beneficiary profile for the technology that you're using in Uganda? Miguel, please. Oh, okay. So Miguel is not here. Okay. Okay. Miguel, did you? Oh, great. Welcome back. So I'm going to repeat the question. So for, I think Indonesia, Kenya, and Uganda, we are now shifting from a donor-supported program for biogas program to a market-based approach. So in your experience now in Uganda, how do you strategize to shift that from donor-supported to a market-based approach? That's question number one. And second is that, what's your customer profile in Uganda, or beneficiary profile for your technology? Please. Thank you, Miguel.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so generally in Uganda, we are looking at really improving a market-based approach. So this means, on the one hand, empowering consumers to invest their own funds into biodigester technology so that they benefit from the benefits of biodigesters based on their awareness and knowledge of those benefits, and by also educating them about the return on investment, the improvement in their livelihoods, the improvement in agricultural yield. At the same time, we're focusing on also building the capacity of biodigester enterprises, private sector enterprises that are investing for it in a profitable business that can be based on earning a profit from delivering quality products to the biodigester market. So in this
Yes, go ahead, Miguel. Can you hear us? Oh, I think the connection is...
as far as...
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, so in terms of our customer profile, we are looking at rural and peri-urban households that have livestock or produce enough organic waste to feed a biodigester on a regular, sustainable basis. Now, in this way, by combining these two aspects, we believe that we'll be able to promote sustainable, low-carbon economies that are independently sustainable because of the mutual benefits that create synergies. We'll be able to reduce waste generation, as we've discussed earlier in this webinar. The amount of waste that's being generated is unsustainable as well. We'll also be able to utilize that waste instead of as a problem. It now becomes a resource that is clearly available in all our economies, and thereby we'll be able to promote affordable, resource-efficient, and competitive technologies that now have their basis on that circular economy that we all know that is the future. So we believe that those are the areas that we can focus on to create a sustainable system.
Thank you. And one quick question, Miguel, regarding your customer profile or your beneficiary profile.
Yes, so the customer profile is rural and peri-urban households. In Uganda, that means individuals who are earning probably about $700-800 a year. Their main primary focus is in agriculture. We have a growing number of customers that are based in food production systems, as well as now cash crops like coffee and tea. And those are people that can see the immediate benefit in terms of the investment and the return on that investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Now I'm going to go over to Marcel and Harry. So why are we get this question a lot for community projects? The question is, where do we start? If we want to have our project to generate, to use carbon financing, where do we start? Do we need to do fundraising to get the project and methodology approved? And is it a viable, can it bring a viable revenue to the business or to the beneficiaries or the customers using carbon finance? Please, Marcel and Harry.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for this question. Yeah, clear. I think the most important thing is, if you talk about carbon finance, it's about the scale of the program. Yeah, so if you only on 500 households, you're not able to develop a carbon certification scheme which make the business case viable. Yeah, so if we look from the perspective of our climate fund, we aiming at 3,000 to 5,000 households as a minimum requirement to develop this whole carbon certification. Geographically, it's important, yeah, that the households are not too far away from each other to manage the program itself. We ourselves have a program in India working with 11,000 households on the biogas schemes. Well, you can imagine it's quite a huge intervention to have this locally organized. Harry, if you have something to add on specifically for the households or the communities to reach carbon finance.
Yeah, well, indeed, the scale, that's the big question. And distance, which Marcel mentions as well, that's kind of the difference between the community-based programs and the national programs in Kenya, Uganda, and Indonesia. There's quite some distances between the households. So indeed, the scale is very important. But where do you start? It's by organizing the program, but subsequently you indeed also need the pre-investment, because the limitation of carbon programs is that you have to invest first, and then you have to design. Well, you have to design the program. You have to invest in the biodigesters, and only when they are functional, they will generate carbon credits. So definitely there's a finance problem. So therefore it's very important to have the linkages with the financing institutions or with a fund or with an investor. And there are different mechanisms for that. And for this aggregation, for this pre-financing question. Then as well, what I didn't mention yet is the aggregation function. So households are the owner of the carbon and the generation of them, but you really need an aggregator. And the most efficient way for this is to have entities like YRE or ABPL or BSUL, because they can aggregate all the users and all the communities. In this regard, very interesting, the approach in Kenya now, where the communities will be organized on county level or district level, and then they are aggregated through the national program, so that the carbon design and carbon program becomes more efficient, because it's very, very expensive to register a program and to monitor and verify emission
Okay.
reductions.
Okay, thank you, Harry. So just a follow-up question, and there's a question from Viola Ninsima, so about the use of carbon revenue. So the question is, how do we ensure that the beneficiaries will be, or our customers will be the main beneficiary of the carbon revenues? And if you have any, different examples of the use of carbon revenues from different countries or different projects, then, please elaborate on that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that a key problem with biodigesters is the high upfront cost. So I think that affordability is a key question to have access to biogas. And for example, in Indonesia, there is clearly a user subsidy which is financed by the carbon revenues. But besides that, there's also and other ways to improve the affordability through the linking with the credit system, microcredit or others. And the quality management is also very important for as a benefit to the user, because the worst case scenario is that you invest in something and then it's not working well. So the quality management, which is so central in all the three programs, that's a key benefit. And I would also add the training and extension for the bioslurry, which is a key benefit also economically for the users. So these are the three ways that are direct, tangible benefits. And now we aim to increase the user subsidies in the coming years, and we are looking at the financial part of this, how to make that reality, and taking advantage of the fact that the carbon prices are increasing. In that sense, in my presentation, I mentioned that the minimum price is €8 this year, and next year €9 of the sales price, but we don't sell below €14 at this moment. But actually, this is still not the true price. We have done calculations, and that go up to 35 euro, which should be the prices, but unfortunately the international market is not yet paying this. But the higher the price, the better the return for the individual household. So we are working on that.
Okay, thank you so much, Harry. And hopefully with the the market now is getting better in terms of pricing, there will also be support towards developing community-based projects getting ready to get their carbon financing. So for panelists, I have one important question. So I have to ask this question to Kevin. So how exactly is women empowerment done in the project for the Kenya case?
Yeah, we approach women empowerment through affirmative actions. For example, for the companies, we basically, for any capacity development approach for biogas companies, we take in all the women entrepreneurs, to be part of that project. For like in 2018, 2019, we had the Biogas Enterprise Accelerator Facility, a one-year program of business coaching and support to entrepreneurs. And we had all the women entrepreneurs as part of that process to ensure that we are encouraging and building the capacity of women to participate in the sector, because it's really low. On the other front is we have more than 50%, actually 70% of all our field biogas extension service providers are women, and we basically encourage them all to engage and learn more, so that we can have visibility of women, technical people in the sector. For the more women are visible in the communities offering support, then the more young men and women, young men within the communities can actually know or feel like that it's possible for them to take active participation in the sector. We also have 52 demonstration farms, And we ensured that a 50-50% ratio was considered in identifying the demo farmers or champions across the country. So we have households where we have women who are champions for the technologies, they're users of the technologies, so that we can also have visibility of women users of the technology, and they can also host community members as they train them or sensitize them on the benefits of biodigesters. So we are still looking at how do we also innovatively involve women in the sector directly. 2 years ago, we ran a program called the Biogas Sales Teams, where we're recruiting sales agents, independent sales agents, and a majority of the people that participated in that intervention were actually women. And we realized that women are actually better, sellers of clean cooking technologies, and it was supported by an incentive from NDEF. And we hope, and we basically also encouraging, entrepreneurs and companies to engage local women or agents or entrepreneurs as sales agents for their digesters within the community. So it is still a long way to go, but we are putting affirmative, efforts and also deliberate programmatic interventions to ensure that women are interested and empowered to do that.
Thank you, Kevin. So thank you so much, speakers, for our first, panel. But I still see a lot of questions in the chat box and also in the Q&A box. So if it's okay, I would like your assistance to address these questions as we need to move to the second session. And I see, there are many questions regarding carbon finance. So Marcel and Harry, if you're willing to answer them through the Q&A, that would be really helpful. So thank you so much, panelists, and we hope that you can stay for the remainder of this webinar. Thank you so much. And you're welcome. So I would like to go over to our second panel session. But before that, sorry, apologies. So I would like to have 1 minute of your time. We're going to do a quick survey. We just have one question through Slido. So if you look at this screen, this should be up now. You'll see a QR code. You can either scan the QR code or you can go to slido.com. And we have, great, thank you. So you can scan the QR code or you can go to slido.com and you can insert the code here, hashtag SSBC 2022 2022. And then we have just one question for you. Okay, so the question is, which aspect from the biogas development are you mostly interested to? So we want to see, we're going to give this there. Oh, let's see how many people. Oh, just one participant voted, and we'll see. Hopefully we have like around 80 plus attendees here. If we can get to 40 participants to vote. So we have a couple of options, whether it's biodigestion technology, and this also includes supporting technologies such as IoT, app monitoring system, or pay-as-you-go. And there's also financing aspect, and where do we get the financing to scale up our biogas business or program, on business model, and also policy advocacy. Okay, let's wait. Can we get to 40 voters for this? We'll wait. Awesome. Okay. Okay, let's just wait for 15 more seconds. Okay, Okay, so we just stopped at 21, but this is good number. So most of the participants are much more interested in business model, and second is on, equally here, biodigester technology, not so equal anymore, financing and policy advocacy. Okay, so we have 24 voters here. You can still vote for the Slido, but I'm gonna stop here. So we can, this is a perfect bridging for our second session. And for the second session, we want to learn more from the practitioners on the ground. We have business working in the biogas, and also we have startup, we have technology provider, and also business, not directly on the biogas, but the value chain from the biogas itself. I would like to invite our first speaker for this second panel, Mr. Garrett Selby from the CTO, the Chief Technical Officer of Inclusive Energy. So while hi Garrett. Oh, okay.
Hello.
Welcome, Garrett. So I'm gonna give you like a quick intro. So Garrett is a founding director of Inclusive Energy and co-invented the smart biogas product. He has extensive experience working in Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, and the Philippines. And he has been trustees of charities that work across Africa in energy access for the last 15 years and brings a wealth of experience in East and West African contexts. So Garrett, this is interesting. Supporting technology for biodigester is something new. So please, Garrett, take it away.
Sure, thank you. Great. Hi. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having us, and yeah, thanks for hosting this webinar. I think it's a great, idea. If we could go to the next slide, please, that'd be great. Fantastic. Yeah, so this is just our mission, which is to unlock value in local clean energy. So as a startup, we see that our mission isn't necessarily to be the first line delivery of the clean energy, but it's actually to work through local partners, local businesses who are in the field and can better do that. And then we provide technologies and tools that unlock that ability, unlock the value in their business models. If we go to the next slide, please. So we actually formed in 2018, and since then we have established offices now in the UK and India, and our manufacturing takes place in India. And we have two key product lines. So one is Cloud Solar, which is a charge controller, and the other is Smart Biogas, which is for the biogas systems, which we're talking about today. They offer three value propositions for both these products. So one is essentially through smart metering, you can unlock flexible payments, pay as you go, and that sort of thing. Through the data, you can also have greater insights into the operation of your systems, so reducing repair and maintenance costs. And then the final one, which we're in the pilot stage of at the moment, is making carbon offsets affordable. So we're just doing some major pilots in that at the moment, and we're very grateful for our partners who've already been on the platform, KBP, BSUL, and also Rumah Energi and the National Dairy Board of India for the collaboration that we've had with them so far. If we go to the next slide, please. So data insights. This is going to be the core of this presentation. We're now operating in, I think, something like 33 different countries, and we have now 55 million hourly data reports from biogas plants, which is incredible. I'd say unprecedented amount of data now on biogas plants of all different sizes and different companies. We've got large-scale monitoring projects in Indonesia, Kenya, Uganda, and India. That's where some of this data will be presented from. We've got an academic paper published already, and we've got another one just submitted last week looking at that data. And we're going to look at some of the challenges and opportunities that we've started to address in that data. I would say we're really at the beginning of this. We've got so much data now, and what you're just seeing seeing is a snapshot of some trends on 1 or 2 different programs that we're looking at. I wouldn't say these are necessarily indicative of all programs, but they just give a flavor of what we're finding and what the opportunities and challenges may be. If we go to the next slide, please. So this is just to help us as I go through this presentation, because we're going to be looking at some graphs. And this is straight from our web application. So if you were to buy the Smart Biogas platform, you would get this data insight into your biogas plants. And what you can see here is the orange line at the top is the pressure in the biogas plant. So you see the pressure going up as the gas builds, and then it goes down again when someone is cooking. Then you've got the green line, which is the flow rate through the meter, and then there's a corresponding blue bar chart, which is the total consumption that was recorded within that hour. And interestingly, what you can see here by looking at that data, you can see that this biogas plant happens to be leaking a little bit, where you've got a very low flow rate when the pressure's going up. So they're not cooking. That flow rate isn't sufficient to cook on, but you can see this continued low flow. So that's indicative of a leak. So this is the sort of way that we're using the data, and you'll see this a few times in the next few slides. We also record temperature is another thing that's just worth pointing out, and that's another thing we're looking at the moment. If we could go to the next slide. So this is just looking at one project, and I just draw your attention to this pie chart on the right. So the green section, which is roughly 17% of the digesters monitored on this project, are working well, I would say, without any room for improvement. That doesn't mean to say that all the others are working really badly. It just means they can be optimized. And each one of those other segments has some combination or other of issues or things that could be improved, and we'll look at that in the next couple of slides. So if we go to the next slide, please. So one of the common problems that we see, and 20% of digesters roughly that we see are exhibiting this problem, is leaking. So here we have an example from this is actually from a customer who's very kindly let us share this information. But they first of all complained that our meter wasn't accurate because they could see these low flow rates occurring. We asked them to cut in a valve either side of the meter, which they duly did, turn the valve off, and then sure enough, the flow rate stopped. And then they opened the valve again, and then this very small flow rate occurred again. And this is very common. And what we found here, and we found actually with most examples, this is usually the stove itself that is leaking. So maybe poorer quality stoves with poor quality valves at the final outlet. They're quite hard to pressure test, quite hard to put soapy water on to test if they're leaking or not. And this is quite a common place we've seen leaks. If we go to the next slide. Venting, oops, sorry, back one slide, please. So venting, what we're seeing here is, first of all, if I just explain the graph at the bottom left. So venting is when the biogas plant gets to full gas pressure, and then gas starts to leak out of the biogas plant, either out of the outlets sump or out of the water pressure release valve. And that we can tell when that's happening when we get flat lines on the pressure graph. When it gets to the maximum pressure, so where those rectangles are, that's a 1-day period. You can see that about half of the day for that biogas plant, there is venting gas. So the customer or the end user isn't using the gas. And what we've done is map that. Again, this is just one particular project, and we found that 54% didn't show any venting, and 48% showed pretty significant venting. Some of them venting bizarrely 100% of the time. You know, customers feeding it with slurry, but seemingly not using the gas and constantly venting. And we think there's a challenge, obviously, because methane release is very harmful to the atmosphere, and that would be harmful for carbon credits. And it's currently not really accounted for in things like the voluntary gold standard and other approaches. But there's obviously a huge opportunity here because there's actually excess gas that people are producing and probably not realizing it, that they have the excess. So we can actually get better use of biogas for our customers by identifying this practice. If we go to the next slide. So this is another project. This is with the National Dairy Board in India. So here what you're looking at is a whole load of digesters that we're monitoring. All of these digesters are exactly the same size and are supposedly feeding the same amounts. And this is 3 months of data of how much gas consumption they have consumed. And what's useful here, and this is the way the customer's using it, is you can identify people who are getting very good performance over that time period, and then people who are getting very poor performance. So you can focus your engagements appropriately and more cost effectively, perhaps, than if you don't have this data. If we go to the next slide, please. So this is some of the opportunities that we're currently developing. This is all in kind of beta phase at the moment. What we're developing through the web app platform, so you don't have to manually look at these graphs. We're creating analytic and data functions that will automatically predict when venting and leaking is happening. So the bottom left, that kind of peach zone is our system automatically spotting the venting, and the blue zone is spotting the cooking, and it can tell you then what the cooking time is. And then the graphs on the right, a bit hard to see at this scale, but the orange sections are leaks that are being automatically detected through our system. So the aim is that through our web application, you'll get automatic notifications to say X customer is experiencing a significant leak, and you can take intervention. If we go to the next slide, please. One of the other opportunities we're looking at, and this came through sort of value proposition exercises with customers, is that actually and biogas businesses, is that we don't just need to deliver value to the biogas businesses, we need to deliver value to the end customer. So we've now launched an app, and this is already available on the Android and App Store. And you can basically, I can hear some background noise there. So it will tell the user the fill level, it will give them access to their pay-as-you-go and metered payments. It will give them notifications on if it's venting. If they've left the valve open at night time, it can tell them, please go and close the valve. And we're also developing that it will be a portal for user guides, so things like slurry management, biogas operation, all that kind of stuff will be in that app. But yeah, take a look at it. We're looking for people to really actively start piloting this. We just released it a month ago. We also have developed the SP Oversight app, which is aimed at very much larger organizations. So that allows an individual organization to monitor multiple other organizations. So you can share your biogas plants with a kind of, let's say, mothership organization, and then they can see the data of, across maybe multiple countries, multiple organizations, and start to aggregate the data that way. Again, we're looking for active users of that. And then the final slide, I think, is next, which is looking at carbon credits. So we're just doing a major carbon credit pilot at the moment, and we're trying to use our data to basically vastly streamline the carbon credits process. The VGS has just released their new methodology, which we were part of writing new method statement to allow IoT in it. The aim is to get this accessible to smaller organizations, not just large organizations, through the app, and then also to increase the cost or the value of the carbon credit value for biogas by increasing the reliability of reporting and having that recognized on the markets. And if we go to the next slide, please. I think that's probably the last slide, hopefully.
Garrett, sorry, you only have 10 seconds to finish.
That's right. That was my last slide. Yeah. So just feel free. That's my email address. We're very grateful for our partners, and especially Rumah Energi hosting this, and all their support over since 2018. And yeah, we're really rolling out much bigger projects now. So yeah, please do get in touch with us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Garrett. It's interesting because not just us, but KBP and BSUL as well. For Rumah Energi, we've piloted around a little over 100 sensors now, and not just for the carbon credit, but also from our point of view, it's resource efficient as well, because the biodigesters are scattered and we have like different geographical landscape, and that's very useful in managing our resources more efficiently. So thank you so much, Garrett. And I see a question for you in the Q&A box. So right after.
Sorry, Bubika, it's mute.
Oh, okay. I was on, I was on mute. Sorry. So next up is Esther Altorfer. Hi, Esther. Welcome. So Esther is the Managing Director, East Africa for Sistema Bio. She graduated from a double master degree in business finance and international affairs in France and Switzerland. She worked in impact investing in Germany, microfinance in Bolivia, and corporate investment banking in Mexico. Wow, what a resume, Esther. And she transitioned to the COO role and opened Sistema Bio new offices in Central America, East Africa, and India between 2016 and 2018. Now she's taken the managing director role for East Africa and is based in Nairobi. So Esther, I would like to hand over the platform to you and would love to hear more on your highlights and lessons learned. Please, Esther, thank you.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to share more about Sistema Bio today. I'm really happy to be on this panel. A brief update of Sistema Bio. We're the leading prefabricated biogas company headquartered in Mexico, with offices in South America, East Africa, and India, and biodigesters installed in over 30 countries. So I'm really happy to share a bit more about our product and our business model today, and to answer any questions you might have. So just to begin with, and I won't spend too much time here, Sistema Bio is a scalable business with measurable SDG outcomes focused on providing economic value for farmers. So I don't know if you can see the slide. It seems it didn't. It's moving now. There's a slight delay. But we have impact on proven impact measured by third parties on 9 of the SDGs, with a main focus on SDG 7, SDG 2, and also SDG 13 on climate action, as well as SDG 5 for women. Won't spend too much time here. A little bit about our product. Our biodigester is prefabricated. It produces biogas, which is a clean, carbon negative, decentralized energy source available today. What you can see on this slide is the entire product package that we provide to every single one of our customers, with every single safety and biogas use material included here. So I think you have to go back to the previous slide. Sorry, I thought I was sharing, but it seems someone else is sharing on my behalf. Sorry, I'll stop sharing then. Great, this is the product package where you can see every single component of a prefabricated biodigester: the feeding tank, the reactor, the biofertilizer storage tank, the cook stove, as well as a single burner. For larger units, we can also have a water heater and engines, as well as other productive use appliances included in the package. What is very unique about our product is that it's extremely durable. We provide a warranty for over 10 years. We can install a relative normal biodigester in 1 day. The maintenance is extremely simple. and it has a very long lifespan. It's modular. If you invest in one biodigester and your farm grows and you need a second one, you can add it. And it's really proven to have an extremely long lifespan. On the next slide, of course, we focus a lot on biogas here today, but we really believe that the core value of the biodigester lies in its biofertilizer production. Biofertilizer is a proven and effective way to increase agricultural productivity and to recycle nutrients back into the soil. We have done a lot of work on biofertilizer. We train every single farmer on biofertilizer, and we have seen the quality of their crops increasing, the quantity of the crops harvested increasing. We've seen a much higher resilience, especially in Kenya, in periods of drought. Fields that are using biofertilizer are more drought resistant. And of course, in COVID times when supply chains are completely disrupted, farmers don't suffer from lack of chemical fertilizer because they produce their own fertilizer on site. On the next slide, you can learn a bit more about our business model, where Systema Bio isn't a product. We're a platform that has developed several components to reach farmers and partners at scale. So it's not only about providing the highest quality product and appliances, it's also about providing sales and financing, having our own manufacturing, our own last mile distribution, as well as a lot of services, training and monitoring. Every single one of our customer receives after-sales service, which is included in the package. And all of this is tracked by our own digital data management platform in the field and then in the office through our CRM. On the next slide, I'm just illustrating this again a bit more. Our core capabilities are really around manufacturing, distribution. We have 2 manufacturing plants, one in India, one in Mexico. We're able to send biodigesters anywhere in the world. We have had biodigesters put on small boats to reach clients on an island. They've been put on the backs of donkeys, and we can send a Systema biodigester anywhere. And an important piece is really our ability to sell and to finance these biodigesters, especially in Kenya. We provide up to 24-month payment plans for our customers. And what's really exciting is that the monthly payment is actually lower than what the farmer usually will spend on firewood or charcoal or anything else. So as they repay their loan, they're already able to be cash flow positive and to see some return on their investments. And lastly, we have a very high focus on, sorry, it's still on the previous slide, still a very high focus on customer satisfaction. So as I mentioned, every time we sell a biodigester, it comes inclusive of installation and at least 2 in-person training and monitoring visits. We also have like customer care service and the 10-year warranty on the geomembrane. So, and just to close on the next slide, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have installed biodigester in 30 countries. We have reached over 40,000 customers, which represents more than 200,000 people. By 2025, our goal is to reach 1 million people, which is roughly 250,000 biodigesters, and we're on track to meet that objective in our current countries of operations and also in new countries. We have a very important carbon strategy. We have already negotiated carbon deals in all of our countries of operations, which are currently in operation. And this is going to be a key part of our growth and scale strategy as we launch new countries. We're launching in Uganda right now with a signed and pre-financed carbon program for 10,000 biodigesters over the next 3 years. And this is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come. And I'm happy to talk about this in the Q&A session. If anyone is interested, I can share my email and we can discuss potential partnerships. And thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Esther. And it's very inspiring to see that biogas, business can actually thrive and able to scale up. I think that's very inspiring. And thank you for pointing out as well, for reminding me actually that this webinar is also a platform for us to connect to each other. So please feel free to drop in your contact email or number and have a follow-up meetings and potentially projects after this. So thank you so much. I have a couple of questions for you, Esther, but I'm gonna hold the questions first, and then I'm gonna go over to India. We have Dhananjay Abhang, founder / CEO of Clean Energy Tech Solution, Kisan Gas Biogas Plant Technology Model. So we have a YRE and Kisan Gas have a history together. We're incubated by the same through the same platform. So Dhananjay holds a BE, Mechanical Engineering, and MBA. And I need to elaborate this. So Dhananjay's father is a passionate farmer. Being from a farming background from a small village in India, he always had a passion to work for farmers. Dhananjay's previous experience of working in the rural market helped him realize how innovative renewable energy products can solve problem of farmers. His passion and empathy for farmers led to the birth of Kisan Gas. I will let Dhananjay explain what Kisan Gas mean. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Dhananjay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for the introduction. Greetings to all. It's a pleasure to be a part of this new association, and I think we'll all learn from this platform. So we are a social enterprise based in India. We basically work in prefabricated biogas technology. Next slide, please. So our main technology is Kisan Gas. So this name is actually derived from a Hindi word. Kisan means a farmer in Hindi. So we basically manufacture prefabricated biogas plants. Different types of feedstocks we process actually through our biogas technology. Like for example, Napier grass, cow dung is there, poultry waste or food waste. So we have technologies for each and every feedstock. Next. So these are the two designs that we have. One is that we call it as a single stage digestion process. So this design is specially worked out for cow dung. And the second design that you see, it's a two-stage digestion process. So it is basically designed to handle different types of feedstocks other than cow dung. Like for example, Napier grass or food waste or any other industrial or organic waste. So the objective of having two separate designs is cow dung is actually easy to digest, easy to process. But for other feedstocks, we need a separate kind of a pre-treatment. So that's why it is a two-stage digestion process. Next slide. So coming back to like specifically talking about the smallholder farmers. So we have different designs available for the farmers at different capacities. So this specific layout, if you see, it is for the smallholder farmers, like farmers having cattle in the range of 4 to 5 or 10. So this is a layout. The main USP of the technology is there is no pit preparation required for this digester actually. All the digesters are installed above the ground. Our digesters are quick to install. Our small scale plant, it takes roughly around just 4 to 5 hours actually to install. And more important is from maintenance point of view. Like for example, all the traditional biodigesters are actually installed underground. So many of these digesters are actually difficult to maintain. One of the main problems that digesters we face is scum formation and how to remove the solids inside the digester. So this is where our digesters are different actually. You can remove the solids easily because these are installed above ground. And one more important factor is less water is required in our digester. So that's why digesters are more efficient. Next slide. So from these pictures, you can see there are different sizes of the plant. All the plants are actually installed above ground. The size of the plant starts from the small scale family size plants to the large scale plants. Next slide. So applications of biogas actually depends on the size of the digester and what is the purpose. Like for example, whenever we discuss with a farmer or any entity, we first analyze what is their requirement. Like for example, a small scale family size plant, obviously their requirement is for cooking purpose. So accordingly, we provide the solution. Like in this case, you can see a small biogas stove is provided with the plant, and we also give a solar powered booster pump. So it is completely off grid and it gives similar performance like LPG actually. So, and in case of medium size or large scale plants, apart from cooking, many of the farmers actually they demand like they need, they want to make, they want to process the milk, they want to generate electricity. So accordingly, we give this solution. So for commercial applications, what we give is a small cylinder also we give because they need pressure and LPG like cooking experience. So biogas is actually compressed in a small cylinder and then it is supplied to the grid and then it is utilized. One more application is biogas generator. So it depends on the farmer requirement and the size of the plant. Next slide, please. So coming to one more product, which is, I mean, we all know that biogas slurry is also one of the most important parameter and it offers a lot of savings. So what we realized is there are many organizations actually who are offering training program on how to utilize biogas slurry. But the problem is there are very less tools or technologies we can say which are offered to the farmers so that it becomes easy to use biogas slurry. So one important thing that we provide actually to the farmers, it's a microbial culture which is used to accelerate the composting process. And for this, there is no, a bed. There is no need to construct any bed. There is no need to invest. It is open field composting process, and this culture actually helps to accelerate the composting process. And along with that, to monitor how it is helping the farmers, we also give a field level soil organic carbon testing kit. So at the field level only you can test how it has actually benefited the farmers and how the soil organic carbon has improved. One more factor which is important is in biogas slurry, solid is also present and liquid is also present. So it becomes actually difficult to handle such a huge quantity of slurry. Even in case of smallholder farmers, it is very difficult. So what we give is a small powder which is called as a coagulant. So you just pour that powder in the slurry. So you get this liquid and solid separated. So that's how it becomes easy for the farmers to handle the slurry part also. Next slide. So the previous slide we saw for the smallholder farmers, and for the medium size or large scale plants, we have a different solution to handle the slurry part is we give the solid liquid separator machine. So from that, liquid part is separated and solid part is separated. Now again, this liquid part is again further enriched. And now this enriched slurry actually you can sell it and earn additional income as well. And also in case of solid part, what we suggest to the farmers is they can either do vermicomposting or we actually promote a phosphate-rich organic manure. So there is a separate method in which you can actually enrich the solids, and this PROM actually it can completely replace the chemical fertilizers which are available in the market. So this is the opportunity for the farmers to further earn additional income by selling the fertilizer part also, and they use it their own farm and they earn additional income as well. Thank you. So this was about our mainly about the technology part. Definitely, like these are all flexible digesters. We can ship it to all over world, and we are open to any partnerships opportunities.
Thank you, Dhananjay. So yeah, it's interesting because this is we get this a lot about community biogas, communal biogas. I think in Indonesia we have this, domestic biogas and communal, and we have like probably different lessons learned for communal biogas. But I'm gonna get to that question later. Thank you so much, Dhananjay. I'm gonna go to our last speaker for this session, Ms. Eva Sulistiawati. Hello, Mbak Eva. So, Bu Eva. So, Ms. Eva is the co-founder of PT Pupuk Suburkan Negeri. It's business entity based in Indonesia. So Eva has been in the agriculture industry for more than 10 years and has extensive experience in nonprofit organization and private sector. She specializes in agriculture sustainability, value chain analysis, environmental practice, CO2 reduction initiative, and CSR based on ISO 26,000 and external communications. So we want to highlight on the other end of the biostory, which is creating that end-to-end biogas biostory market to accelerate the development of biogas. So please, Mbak Eva, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you all. Well, I'm the last one, so please don't be bored yet. So I'm here on behalf of Pupuk Suburkan Negeri. In English, we say fertilize the nation. So we have this mission for a biogas side product, bioslurry from waste to wealth. So if you go with the bioslurry, like Dhananjay says, as well as the other two speakers mentioned about bioslurry coming from, there is a liquid, and also we could have a solid bioslurry after the drying, and the liquid bioslurry coming from the sludge. If you go with the sludge, is a fully fermented slurry coming from the dung and the manure. So we can say that this slurry are already like organically fermented and can be used for the fertilizer. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Sorry about that. So basically, let me go through for the application of bioslurry in agriculture. So what really inside of the bioslurry? This is data coming from our ERI, product data management. So if you compare, sorry, but this is in Indonesian, I just explain a bit. If you compare what is inside on the bioslurry, which is a liquid fertilizer or composting or vermicompost, you can see that the CN ratio, the organic C, macronutrient and the micronutrient, it was really completed. So if it is complete, then we can assure that this organic fertilizer can help and support the farmers across the nation. So if you see that, different kind of manure coming from different kind of cattle, is really have this differentiate of the macronutrient, CN ratio and the micronutrient. But what is really bioslurry can support? So this company really, focusing on this. So bioslurry, we can see this as a soil conditioner for heavy soil, high quality and complete nutrient, both macro and micro, bioactivator for probiotic micro, and food source for earthworm. So in a way, directly is going to, soil conditioner for the heavy soil, as well as supporting the plant hormones activated. We can use it as an organic pesticide and fungicide because bioslurry, proven that decrease the weed by 50%, and as well as a good material for mixing for the vermicompost and the master media, and in the fisheries as well is feeding the fish and the eel. Next slide, please. Excuse me. Can you see the slide? Sorry, guys, I don't see slide.
Yes, I see it on my screen.
I didn't see mine.
Yep. Okay, we're working on it. I apologize for this.
No worries. Let me just explain it in the words. Because this company founded. Oh, okay, it's coming. Thank you. Minute. So why this company found and developed? Because we see the potential of this bioslurry coming from the biogas producer. So if you see that across the archipelago, across Indonesia, we have almost 27,000 biodigesters, which is if we calculate a bioslurry like liquid or solid by the plant of 10 meter cubic, we get like around 180 liters or 27 kilos. So this potential is huge, and we can make very well social business on the bioslurry, not only support in the farmers level, but also in the potential of the environment as a whole in the agriculture sustainability. Next, please. Is it okay? No. Okay, so I just, okay, thank you. So why pupuk suburkan negeri? Pupuk suburkan negeri in English we say fertilize the nation. So it was recently founded in June 2022. The founders based on the Yayasan Rumah Energi, the YRA, myself and Andre. So the composition of the founders just coming from a different background. The YRA coming from the background of the biodigester and the beneficiaries, as well as the biogas unit, me in the agriculture sustainability, and as well as Andre is coming from the business development and market business strategy. So we have this mission to support the biogas user, but not only benefit from the gas, but also from their side product, which is the bioslurry. And the other is that directly we're going to support the farmers across the archipelago with a good quality fertilizer. As you may know, the chemical fertilizer is not really, sometimes it's not really good for the soil as well as the plant. So we come here as one of the opportunities as well as one of the product that can support that to complement what we have now in the market. So this mission as well as to contribute to SDG 7, 12, 13, 15, and 17. Next slide, please. Next minute, thank you. Oh, okay. So
go back, just go back one slide, please.
I think it's one slide, please.
I'm sorry, I apologize for this. Go back one slide. Oh, okay, we're still loading.
It's fine. It's there. So basically what we're doing in the PSN, so we go with the biogas user, which is the biodigester coming from the YRA. The beneficiary is coming from the YRA. And we collaborate with the cooperative, which is the cooperative is a partner to develop the biodigester. And they also have collecting the bioslurry and processing. So for us, for now, we are the one who are going to marketize the bioslurry, and as well as to put much more research and development in this, and also the innovation. So we're going to have this in the retail market and as well as in the plantation companies. So basically, the bioslurry is not only for small farmers or the biogas users, but also can be as well as be marketized. This directly can support on the biogas user for additional income, and also the site from the biodigester. Next one, please. Oh, yes, this is my last slide. So our operational office in Malang nowadays. you can have the phone contact there. And you can have, like, I can share my email to you as well if you want to have a question or collaborate together. And then we can have, like, more discussion on this side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Eva. Great presentation, and I'll come back to you. But before that, I want to go back to we're going into the Q&A session. And thank you so much for panelists who have been helping me in answering this question. So I want to go back to Garrett. So Garrett, as one of the users of the inclusive energy sensor smart biogas technology, we are very much help with the resource efficiency, but we get this question a lot from our cooperative partners that considering the willingness the ability to pay of our biogas users, and there's this additional cost of installing sensors. Like, do you have any best practices on how to have like a financing model that can be applied in Indonesia, for example?
Yeah, so what I'd say about that is there is an additional cost. That's goes without saying. Obviously, there's an additional cost burden there. But what we're trying to provide value on is, so first of all, is around the maintenance issue. So we have customers where it might cost up to $100 just to go out and visit a biogas plant anyway that's very far away or remote and hard to access. So in which case, the single cost of the unit would be paid off in one visit that would be saved and that sort of thing. So there's the maintenance aspect, there's the carbon credit aspect. So we're trying to basically speed up and massively reduce the cost of carbon credits, and then also open up the carbon credit market to more and more people. So I think currently now you need something like somewhere in the region of 2,000 to 5,000 biogas plants to sort of break even to create a carbon project. And we're trying to bring that cost vastly down, and therefore, sort of democratize that a bit more. And then there was a third thing that's I've completely forgotten. Sorry. The third thing was about the way you do payments. So just we had a study carried out for us in Kenya looking at the financial and technical viability of people owning a biogas plant in Kenya, as an example. And I think based on the current pricing models, you might get up to 60,000 people who are technically and financially viable. But if you can sort of really extend the payment periods, that number goes up to something like 500,000 households, something in that number that both have the right number of cows and would be able to afford it. So we're really just trying to blow open and increase markets. And then a fourth thing, if I've got time to add it, is just also for bigger biogas plants, of course, this gets the economies of scale come into play. So if you're doing these kind of community-based ones, that's where we get a lot of easy traction. You don't really have to sell it at all in that sense. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, very much. Thank you. And I believe that we still have a representative from the Ministry of Energy. Even like last year, our national installed base is 47,000, even though this number is still far away from the national target, but it's a very helpful technology to be able to monitor the performance of this biogas, including the ones that are funded by the government. So thank you, Garrett. And I want to move now to Esther. So this is a very simple question. Do you plan to expand to Asian markets? And if so, again, we have the people representative from the ministry here. What are the enabling conditions that, what are the enablers for you to be able to invest in Indonesia, for example?
Just as an example, randomly picking Indonesia. No, I mean, we're really interested in opening new markets and bringing our whole technology product and service to new countries. And Indonesia has a huge potential in terms of biogas. And we have a very, very successful team in India. So we've done the first step of moving into Asia, broadly speaking. What it would take for us is really finding the right partners. We're planning to grow to new region through partnerships. So having a local partner who's already either selling or installing biogas, or who is working with dairy farmers or with pig farmers, who already has a network, someone who has the ability to import the product, and then we can provide all the training. We can provide training on sales, we can provide the training on installation, after sales service, and we will be present for support to this partner, and the success of the partner will be our success. What we're doing right now as a strategy in terms of new markets is opening new countries where we have carbon financing approved. So this is already the case in Uganda and Malawi and a few other countries in Africa. If there was interest from Indonesia, we could start looking for a carbon off-taker that would be interested in Indonesia, negotiate the price per ton, negotiate pre-financing. We can get the working capital as well, and then find the local partner to implement on the ground. So those would be the main conditions. But it looks like Indonesia is already a very mature market. So if you have contacts of strong local partners that would be interested in working with Systema Bio, we'd love to talk to them.
Thank you, Esther. And I have one question. This is actually from Marcel. Marcel, do you want to convey the question yourself, or do you want me to? This is related to monitoring and also the carbon credits, I believe.
I think really fond of your interventions you're producing, but indeed the whole monitoring cycle. How is it performed as your customers are dispersed?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty traditional monitoring. We provide, once the biodigester is installed, we visit the client again twice in the following year. We're also in touch with the customer for the following year. If they have a loan that they're repaying, we'll be talking to them every month. So it's mostly customer care team on the phone, and as well as visits. We count on the customer to reach out when they have a problem, and then we can visit them. So the beauty of prefabricated flexible biodigesters is that you can troubleshoot them very easily. So we do a lot of remote troubleshooting. We have a very, very simple graphic user manual that has also a QR code to videos where customers can troubleshoot their own and try to solve their own issues. We can guide them on the phone, and if needed, we'll visit them. Yeah.
And from a Fair Climate Fund perspective, the carbon credits, is that reducing is that subsidy on the intervention on your product?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to launch our very first 2 carbon programs in India and Uganda, where the carbon is directly allocated to a reduced price. So we'll be able to offer biodigesters at a price that has never been possible before in the market.
Super.
But yeah, our top priority is affordability and access and scale. So we have a very strong commitment to reducing the price as much as possible as a social enterprise working with smallholder farmers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Esther. I believe that also answers the question from Lucy in the first panel. So I want to move on to Dhananjay now. There's a question from Marcel, but I'm gonna ask it because it's quite straightforward about the investment cost. So that's number one. And second is from us, do you have a experience in having different financing model for the communal biodigester?
Yeah. So on costing part, actually, it depends on what size of the plant the farmer or any community wants to install. But the small scale plant price, it starts roughly around from $500 and more. So the medium size or large scale plants actually depends on the size and the quantity of waste available. And second, on the financing part, yes, we do financing here in India. We have done some financing, but that is through partners. We don't do directly the financing part. We have financial institutions as a partner with us in India.
Okay, thank you, Dhananjay. But before we go to our last speaker, I want to apologize because we're over 3 minutes. I'm going to try to be as quick as possible. Last but not least, Ms. Effa, I want to ask about, so my understanding is that the bioslurry business is a strategy in Indonesia to really scale up that biogas, because you have the biogas users guarantee additional revenue monthly. So my question is, how do you ensure that the integrity and the connection between biogas and bioslurry? How do you monitor that you can supervise the value chain?
Okay, thank you, Becca. For the value chain, like for example, we have this biodigester and biouser, right? So that already have the bioslurry. Are we going to have this biouser for the biogas user to sell in a certain of price? So this can have this amount of profit for the biogas user. So this is like already in the long term, so we can select how much money or how much profit that can be gained from the bioslurry itself. So this already ensured the value chain of the bioslurry. And this also, like directly or indirectly, can support on more perhaps biogas development or biodigester development in the future. Perhaps I can answer the question. We'll wake up.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Effa. So unfortunately, I have to wrap up this second session. There are still lots of questions coming into the Q&A box. So I would like to thank all of the panelists from session 1 and 2 for agreeing to share your insight and also helping me answer these questions. And please, if you're willing to, you can leave your contact in the Q&A box so that people you can have like follow-up meetings. So thank you very much, all panelists or speakers. So now we're ending the we're going to wrap up soon, but before that, I want to ask my colleague Mikel Muvule to explain a bit on what are we going to do next, because of course we don't want this webinar just to stop here, but we want a tangible results and a tangible next steps. So Mikel, if you can explain to us, what is the next thing that SSBC is going to do right after this webinar. Thank you, Mikel. Oh. Okay, is Mikel here? Okay, great. Mikel, are you? Yeah, can you hear us? Okay. Yes, so in the meantime, I'm gonna hand this over to Kevin. Kevin, if you can help me answer that question on the next step for the SSBC. Please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, all participants who have actually tagged along up to this moment. So as the South-South biogas community, I think the first step is for us to ensure that the South-South biogas platform is put in place. So we're going to communicate to all the participants who are basically reached out for this first webinar, and all who have attended. We're going to communicate our official platform, which is basically a microsite that talks more about what we already shared in terms of what SSBC is all about, what we plan to do, and the activities that we want to collaborate together as organizations and institutions in the South and support partners also from the North. After that, we basically are going to be organizing more of such events, learning events, exchange program events, and linkages, providing linkages between countries or organizations in different countries in the South to continue the learning process. But most importantly is for us to set up a process and a procedure on how any organization that is interested in being part of the South biogas community, we are going to organize a process and a procedure on how we can onboard other organizations or institutions or programs that have the same vision and the same interests that this SSBC is formed to do. So for now is to just interest everyone to look out on their emails for the communication of our official platform as SSBC and the contact details for SSBC. Currently, we have YRE as the official secretariat of SSBC for this year. So most of the communication is going to be coming through from YRE, from the YRE team. And the main contact person is Rebecca. And we have ABPL as the spokesperson for SSBC. So most of the communication that we're going to have, formal communication on our activities and on our initiatives will be coming from ABPL. So for now is to thank you, and we call for your support. We call for your interest to collaborate and join, and we look forward for a big community in the South that is going to voice the need and the urgency for us to support our communities to access clean and affordable renewable energy for cooking. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Kevin. So please be on the lookout for our next activity or meeting or event. Actually, we have one Slido session, but we have like an idea. We want to change it last minute. So I'm going to invite all of the panelists to open their mic, and I want to ask each one of you to say like a one-liner on what the advocacy point from your end. Yeah. So what's the one narrative in one sentence that you feel like we need to advocate that to through a global platform? Okay.
Now
so I'm
my
gonna.
mic is open.
Oh, okay. Please go ahead. Yeah. So who wants to go first?
Kevin here.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
More structured, deliberate resources for clean cooking targeting communities.
Gareth Selby here from Inclusive Energy. I think a big thing for us is just raising the value of carbon pricing for biogas. So we'd love to see it go higher to really value, it's dealing with this 2.6 billion people. It deserves to be raised higher. So I think there's lobbying required on that.
Thank you, Garrett. Esther, do you want to go next?
Yes. It's hard to pick one, but I will pick more and pre-financing at concessional terms for carbon program implementations.
Awesome. Thank you, Esther. And next up, Nikhil.
Yes, thank you. And I think our key area would be looking at ways to identify and disseminate proven support strategies along with guidelines that can fulfill the potential for both biogas and bioslurry development, starting with the 3 countries that have formed this consortium and looking to expand it to other countries in the global South that can benefit from this potential. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for cramming everything into one sentence. That's genius. Thank you. Okay, we have Pak Edi Wibowo is still here. Pak Edi, are you can you open your mic? Okay. So I'm gonna, while waiting for Pak Edi, I'm gonna go over to Marcel or Harry. Just one sentence, please.
Oh, hello. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, your one.
Okay. Yeah. So I think biogas for all and bioslurry for all, and that for the enabling environment, that LPG subsidies will be converted into biogas subsidies.
Yes, I agree on that point. Thank you so much, Pak Heri. I think we have everyone covered. Sorry. Oh, Dhananjay, last but not least, please put your one-liner.
I think I would agree to just remove the subsidies that are given to the fossil fuels. I think that is one of the key points to make biodigesters more commercially feasible.
Yes, let's advocate together for that, and it's the right momentum at the moment. Thank you so much, Dhananjay, and thank you all speakers. You actually helped me to wrap up this webinar with your one-liners, but bear in mind that we have different international events going on. I think it's not just the G20, and from our side, from Indonesia, we're currently in coordination with Ministry of Energy and also with different ministries to push for the biogas agenda to the G20 event later on. And also we're going to have further events and meetings and activities. So please be on the lookout for our next activities. And I would like to thank you to all participants who stayed with us for 2.5 hours. I'm sorry, we're a little over we're over 15 minutes from schedule. So thank you very much for your patience. And thank you so much, speakers, our co-host, Miguel and Kevin. And thank you also to Pak Edi Wibowo, the Director General, and also the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources team for supporting us. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Program Zero Waste itu adalah program tata kelola sampah, karena sampah itu tidak bisa di-stop atau dihentikan berdasarkan data TPA semua yang ada di Nusa Tenggara Barat, bahwa tata kelola sampah itu di NTB penanganannya baru 20%. Provinsi hadir untuk membangun sistem, melakukan sosialisasi dan edukasi, terutama pilah sampah dari rumah. Seluruh komponen masyarakat yang mempunyai aktivitas, terutama para komunitas pencinta lingkungan, kita dorong juga sosialisasi. Yang merusak sampah itu sisa makanan, 1-2 hari bau. Nah, kalau dimasukkan di dalam menjadi biogas itu awet biogasnya. Itu sudah banyak dipraktekkan oleh komunitas-komunitas kita di Nusa Tenggara Barat, termasuk Biomiru di dalamnya untuk mengembangkan biogas.
Pada tahun 2021 sudah bisa membangun sebanyak 1.220 unit di Kabupaten Lombok Utara, yang itu tersebar sejauh ini baru di 4 kecamatan gitu. Program yang kita gelontorkan ini adalah program lanjutan dari yang sebelumnya. Kalau sebelumnya itu ada program yang sama juga di biogas, tetapi itu adalah fixed dome gitu, dengan adanya program baru yang itu menggunakan polietilen dengan tangki air begini gitu. Jadi itu lebih diterima oleh masyarakat. Di samping itu pun kita mengatur bagaimana supaya swadaya dari masyarakat itu benar-benar minim gitu.
Banyak hal sih yang dibantu, nanti ada material seperti pasir yang dibutuhkan atau batako. Jadi swadaya dari masyarakat ya masyarakat sendiri yang menyiapkan gitu, yang membantu kita untuk melengkapi kebutuhan material untuk pembangunan biogas tersebut. Masyarakat tahu bahwa pemanfaatan biogas ini sangat bermanfaat gitu.